Celestia, you. This is what Sunny Radiance thought after witnessing the power of the source of harmony. As long as those harmony elements are separated and the source of harmony becomes ineffective, no one can stop me. Sunny Radiance fixed her gaze on the underage M6S, a wicked smile on her face. Celestia, you pest. A few years later. Help. I'm going to Cairo with Somalia. Can we reconcile? Save me. Celestia, the great and omnipotent cosmic princess. Save me. Save me. I will do anything. Celestia, you betrayed me. Quack. You all. Don't touch it anymore. Oh no, waga you gh quack aw. A year later, holding the newborns, Sunny Radiance's gentle expression froze for a moment. What was I going to do again? Chapter 1. Exclusion. The willow catkins of late spring stuck to Sunny Radiance's eyelashes, like the remaining snow not yet melted at the end of winter. The little colt's mane shimmered with a honey-like glow under the midday sun, laughter mingling with the fragrance of fresh grass. He's not like us. He's a monster. Don't play with him. A sharp child's voice suddenly pierced the air, and with that piercing shout, the entire Pony Maria seemed to be enveloped in fear. Sunny Radiance's hooves sank into the moist soil, dew trickling down the scales. He couldn't count how many times he had heard those words, but the new scales on his back still ached, as if those words had become entities, peeling away at his fur inch by inch. The ponies scattered in terror, shouting, "Everyone run! The monster's going to eat us!" Sunny Radiance instinctively took a step back, but his hind hooves got caught in the gnarled roots of a tree. As the sky tilted in his vision, he saw a moss-covered pebble tracing a perfect parabola. With a bang, the stone struck heavily against Sunny Radiance's forehead. As the sharp pain exploded at his brow, he smelled the scent of rust. His small body trembled involuntarily. Bright red blood gushed from his forehead, staining his snow-white face. However, even after such a heavy blow, Sunny Radiance still endured the pain, refusing to let tears escape. Compared to the other ponies, Sunny Radiance indeed looked different. His white body was covered with a layer of fine back scales, now trembling like a startled snake, a mane mixed with black and scattered pink, and a tail shaped like a lion swayed behind him. The few features that indicated he was a pony included a unicorn horn on his head, uniquely spiraled. But these unique traits were not all. More astonishing was the eerie pattern on his flank. A terrifying skull draped in a black robe, its mouth wide open, with a ball of blue flames forming the number 13. Additionally, a giant scythe hung above it, glinting with a cold light. From any angle, such a cute insignia was certainly not something a kind-hearted being could possess. Sunny Radiance slowly extended his hoof, gently touching the gradually healing, slightly itchy wound. He bit his lip tightly, took a deep breath, and then broke into a signature smile. This smile seemed warm and friendly, but to others, it resembled a bad omen. "Hello, everyone. Can I be friends with you?" Sunny Radiance waved his hoof, speaking kindly. However, what Sunny Radiance did not expect was that the group of ponies not only showed no friendliness, but instead retreated several steps in fear. Watching this scene, a surge of indescribable disappointment welled up in Sunny Radiance's heart. But he knew well that gaining the trust of these ponies would not be easy. The differences in appearance and prejudice against his cute insignia had already erected a thick barrier between them. However, his grandmother encouraged him to make friends, and Sunny Radiance wanted to make a friend to reassure her. So, he took a deep breath, calming his emotions, and cautiously approached the nearest pony step by step. At the same time, he tried hard to convey his sincere goodwill through his actions. With a smile on his face, warm and gentle eyes, he softly said, "Don't be afraid. I really won't hurt any of you." But who would have thought that at that moment, the ponies suddenly screamed in terror. "The monster is smiling. Everyone run. He's definitely going to eat us." Accompanied by this terrified cry, the other ponies became restless, and the scene instantly turned chaotic. Bang! With a dull sound, another hard stone shot towards Sunny Radiance like a meteor. This time, luck seemed to favor him. The stone struck directly against the layer of fine scales on his back. Compared to the earlier pain from being directly hit by a stone, this impact, while still painful, was much better. "Get out, monster. No one wants to be friends with you." "Yeah, get out. No one likes you. Leave here." These words rang like thunder in his ears, shaking his heart. Then, the stone that hit him seemed to trigger a terrible chain reaction to the surrounding ponies. Witnessing this, all picked up stones nearby and unhesitatingly threw them at the poor Sunny Radiance. In an instant, countless stones of various sizes and shapes rained down on him. Faced with such a torrent of attacks, Sunny Radiance was terrified. He instinctively curled up, tightly hugging his head and body, tried to use this method to shield himself from the merciless stones. Every stone that struck him produced a crisp sound upon impact, and he could only silently endure the pain and humiliation, filled with fear and helplessness. "I want to eat you. Please don't bully me." He tightly held his head, his small body trembling from fear and helplessness. He tried to use his weak strength to block the stones raining down like raindrops, but it was all in vain. The ponies showed no sign of stopping their violence. They laughed and shouted, continuously throwing stones at him. Gradually, the stones being thrown became fewer. However, this was not due to the ponies feeling pity or remorse, but rather because they had exhausted all the stones they could find. Even so, they still did not spare this poor child in front of them. Sunny Radiance curled up on the cold, hard ground, his body covered with wounds of various sizes, blood slowly seeping from the injuries. His once clear and bright eyes were now filled with terror and despair, tears swirling in his eyes. At that moment, some ponies approached him with malicious smiles. Stepping closer to Sunny Radiance, he keenly sensed the approaching danger, knowing these guys would definitely not let it go. So he gritted his teeth, enduring the pain throughout his body, struggling to lift his battered body, and staggered away. With every step he took, it was a tremendous torment, but the instinct to survive drove him to escape desperately from this nightmarish place. "We scared the monster away again. Next time I see him, I will definitely let him taste my power." Behind him came the triumphant cheers and unrestrained laughter of the little ponies. They felt an immense sense of pride in successfully driving away the so-called monster, as if they had accomplished a great feat. The warm figure of Shihue gradually faded away amidst the ponies' mocking voices, ultimately disappearing at the end of the road. All that remained were the scattered stones and that solitary, desolate silhouette. Chapter 2. I have a little home. Shihue Nuanyuan endured the excruciating pain throughout his body, struggling to drag his already battered and blood-stained body. Inching closer to the bridge hole, with every step he took, he felt the sharp pain from his wounds, but he gritted his teeth and persevered. Finally, he reached the area beneath the bridge, collapsing to the ground in relief, his entire body hidden in the shadows of the bridge hole. Using this natural shelter, he tried to conceal his weak and disheveled figure. Suddenly, a hissing sound emerged, and white smoke began to rise from the terrifying wounds on his body. At the same time, an indescribable itch surged from deep within the wounds, as if countless tiny insects were gnawing at his flesh. However, something astonishing happened. As the white smoke continued to rise, the wounds, which were once deep enough to see bone, began to visibly heal at an astonishing rate. First, the small scratches gradually disappeared, then the larger wounds began to close and eventually formed a thin scab. Before long, all of Shihue Nuanyuan's injuries had completely healed, and the new skin was as smooth as before, as if the previous bullying had never happened. Sitting on the cold ground, Shihue Nuanyuan trembled slightly. Tears streamed down his face like a flood, falling onto the ground. He raised his right hoof to gently wipe away the tears from the corners of his eyes, but new ones quickly rolled down. Curling up into a ball, he seemed to want to wrap himself up, distancing himself from the harm and pain of this world. Time passed minute by minute, and the surroundings were silent, with only his faint sobs occasionally breaking the tranquility. After an unknown amount of time, Shihue Nuanyuan's emotions gradually calmed down. He slowly opened his eyes, staring blankly at the pool of clear water in front of him, which reflected his somewhat haggard face. Especially around his eyes, which had been red and swollen from crying, were now gradually returning to normal, leaving only faint traces. He bit his lip, determined not to cry out again. Then he extended his hooves, gently massaging the corners of his mouth, trying to adjust the muscles in his face to force a standard smile. Although the smile looked somewhat forced, he persisted because he knew he could not let his grandmother see the scars on his body, nor could he let her sense the sadness deep within his heart. To Shihue Nuanyuan, his grandmother was the only warmth and support in his life. Therefore, whenever he faced her, he had to muster up his spirits and put on a confident and strong facade, as long as it would put her at ease. With this thought in mind, Shihue Nuanyuan slowly got up and carefully walked toward the edge of the village, where a small wooden house stood steadily among the lush greenery. Smoke curled up from the chimney, as if telling everyone that the owner inside was cooking. Nuanyuan had grown so big in the blink of an eye that his grandmother could hardly hold him anymore. His grandmother gently extended her hoof, tenderly stroking Shihue Nuanyuan's head. When her fingertips touched his soft mane, she couldn't help but tremble slightly, as she keenly sensed the tiny stones and dust hidden within it. Her brow furrowed imperceptibly for just a moment, but that wrinkle quickly vanished like ripples on a lake blown by the wind. "All right, Nuanyuan, go wait at the table. Grandma will have the delicious food ready soon," she said with a loving voice, her eyes sparkling with warmth. Okay. Shihue Nuanyuan nodded happily, bouncing over to sit at the dining table, obediently waiting. His grandmother slowly turned her back to him. At that moment, the smile that had hung at the corner of her mouth gradually faded, replaced by a heart-wrenching expression on her weathered face. Every wrinkle seemed to tell a story of guilt towards her grandson and self-reproach for her own helplessness. Silently, she walked to the iron pot, lifted the lid, and a plume of steam rose. Her horn magically stirred the vegetables in the pot, but her right hand instinctively covered her mouth, seemingly trying to suppress the tears that were about to spill. However, despite her best efforts, a few faint sobs escaped through her fingers, perfectly masked by the sounds of the pot and spatula clashing. "I'm sorry, Nguyen. Is Grandma so useless?" She knew her grandson had been bullied by those little ponies again, but she was already old and frail, unable to take action against those rude beings. However, if she were no longer around, where would her grandson go? Quickly calming her emotions, Grandma brought the food to the table with a smile. The two of them chatted and laughed while eating, both burying the bad things in their hearts and only presenting the good things to each other. The corner of the wall seemed like a physical barrier, limiting the space for movement, making one feel more secure and in control while reducing visibility of the surrounding environment, alleviating feelings of anxiety. Thus, he felt that hiding in the corner made him less detectable and less likely to be attacked. With a certain degree of control over his surroundings, his sense of security increased accordingly. Shihue Nguyen gazed at the enchanting night scene outside the window. The night deepened, and everything fell silent. The stars twinkled like brilliant diamonds embedded in the dark sky, shining brightly. They flickered in various intensities, as if countless pairs of lively eyes were watching over the earth. The bright moon hanging high in the sky resembled a gem that completed the picture, radiating a soft and pure light. The surrounding Milky Way sparkled, slowly revolving around the moon, forming a beautiful and exquisite landscape. Gazing at this dreamlike scene, a deep longing surged within Shihue Nguyen's heart. How he wished he could be like that bright moon, the focus of everyone's attention, surrounded by countless shining stars. He had never particularly liked the feeling of being alone. But at this moment, this solitude brought him a unique sense of tranquility and comfort. Although he had thought of finding friends so that his grandmother would be at ease, deep down, he still longed to establish genuine friendships and be part of a warm and joyful group. He firmly believed that as long as he persevered and made an effort to give and try, one day everyone would open their hearts to accept him. With this thought, his mind surged like a tide, constantly envisioning scenes of a carefree and joyful future with friends. They might chase and play on the lush green grass. They might sit together sharing each other's joys and worries. The warm moonlight gently spilled into the room, as if draping the entire world in a layer of soft veil. Holding onto his infinite hopes for a beautiful future, Shihue Nguyen slowly closed his eyes and gradually sank into a sweet dream. In his dream, Shihue Nguyen finally met the mysterious and beautiful cosmic princess his grandmother had mentioned. The princess wore a magnificent gown shimmering with dazzling starlight and a crown adorned with jewels, exuding an aura of noble elegance with every gesture. She announced to the little ponies that he was not a monster, that they would not reject him, and that he had become friends with them. Chapter 3 Friends? Can we be friends? A unicorn gently raised its front hoof and extended it towards Shihue Nguyen. A friendly and warm smile hung on its face like the gentle sunlight of spring. Who? Me? Upon hearing this sudden question, Shihue Nguyen couldn't help but look around in confusion, trying to find the intended target of the voice. When he finally confirmed that the person being referred to was indeed himself, Shihue Nguyen's eyes widened in disbelief, and he instinctively pointed to himself with his front hoof. Yes, is that possible? The unfamiliar unicorn nodded and asked again. Huh. Ha ha ha. Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you. Faced with this unexpected invitation of friendship, Shihue Nguyen became so excited that he stumbled over his words. At that moment, he felt as if he were in a dream. Everything happening before him seemed so unreal. However, the joy surging deep inside him was so genuine that he could not ignore this rare friendship. Making a friend was something Shihue Nguyen, who had always been lonely, could hardly even dream of. Great, we want to explore the cave in that forest, and we sincerely hope to invite you to join us. Upon hearing this, Shihue Nguyen's expression faltered, and he thought to himself, that forest is not a place that just anyone would dare to enter. A hint of hesitation showed in his eyes. After all, on one side was a new friend who had just invited him with enthusiasm. On the other side was that mysterious and rarely visited forest. Although deep down he understood that this adventure might be full of dangers, he was also unwilling to give up such a rare opportunity. At that moment, the unicorn keenly caught the hesitation in Shihue Nguyen's expression. Its brow furrowed slightly, but this subtle change in expression was fleeting, almost undetectable. Then, the unicorn gently said, "Aren't we friends?" This sentence struck Shi Huinwanwan's heart like a heavy blow. It seemed that you didn't intend to consider me your friend. Wait, I will go. We are still friends, right? Tonight. The moon will be at its highest point in the sky. Let's meet here. After saying this, the unicorn walked into the forest and disappeared from sight. Shi Huinwanwan smiled awkwardly. They should still be considered friends, right? The boundary line. Grandma, I made a friend today. Moonlight poured through the window, illuminating the room as Shi Huinwanwan sat on a chair, swinging his little legs, his small face flushed with excitement and joy, eager to share the fresh experience he encountered today with his grandmother. Oh, a friend? Grandma's originally kind face slightly froze upon hearing this, her brows furrowing with a hint of concern, and she quickly asked, "What did he say to you?" "He said he wanted to invite me to explore the cave in the forest." As Shi Huinwanwan spoke, he pointed towards the lush forest in the distance, his eyes flashing with anticipation for the future. "So that's it," Grandma nodded thoughtfully, but the next moment, she turned away, her once gentle face suddenly turning gloomy. She hurried to the living room cabinet, opened the door, and carefully took out a necklace. The necklace was antique and exquisite, with a dazzling gem embedded at the pendant. The horn on her head suddenly shone with brilliant light, and as the light flickered, a magical force slowly infused into the core of the gem on the necklace. "All right, Wan, come over and try it on." Grandma adjusted the necklace and softly called out, "Coming, Grandma." Shi Huinwanwan happily responded, quickly jumping off the chair and running to his grandmother, obediently stretching his neck forward. Grandma carefully placed the necklace around her grandson's neck and nodded in satisfaction, saying, "It looks great. This is a talisman that can protect you." Don't worry, Grandma. It's just to see a cave. I won't get into any trouble." Good. Go ahead. Don't keep your friend waiting too long." Grandma sent Shi Huinwanwan to the door, patted his head, signaling him to hurry. Bye, Grandma." Shi Huinwanwan waved goodbye to his grandmother. Goodbye." Grandma watched as her grandson's small figure gradually disappeared from view, her originally kind and gentle gaze suddenly turning sharp, revealing a hint of barely perceptible hostility. She truly did not expect that even after the war had passed for so long, the little ponies no longer rejected each other, but began to reject outsiders. The traits on Shi Huinwanwan's body, apart from the unicorn horn and some features of little ponies, had nothing else that could be called the same race as the little ponies. Not to mention that cute symbol that looked ominous. Since she picked him up, she knew this child would not have an easy future. She slowly turned around, taking somewhat unsteady but firm steps into the living room. Then, she walked straight to that old cabinet, opened the door again, and reached inside to take out a somewhat worn hiking stick. The handle of the hiking stick was a tapered cross shape, with some marks that looked like red paint peeling off, seemingly telling a story of its past. Grandma tightly gripped the hiking stick, muttering to herself, "A bunch of ignorant hybrids. Do they really think my old lady is easy to bully? Don't let me catch you bullying my child." Magic surged from the horn, forming an arrow that pointed in the direction Shi Huinwanwan had just left. She had cast a tracking spell on Shi Huinwanwan's talisman, and she was sure that the unicorn wanting to befriend Shi Huinwanwan had ill intentions. Nwanwan didn't even know his name. He was simply too guilty to say his own. If it weren't for considering Nwanwan's feelings, she definitely wouldn't let him go, especially since it was the first time he had taken the initiative to make a friend. But it wasn't that she lacked confidence in her grandson. The prejudices in the hearts of ponies were like a mountain. Once formed, they were hard to change. She initially hoped her grandson would go with a mindset of giving it a try to encourage him, but it deeply hurt him instead. Chapter 4. Scales. Shi Huinwanwan was sandwiched among several little ponies who were much taller than him. The ponies were silent, while the unicorn, dressed in what seemed like noble attire, was leading the way ahead. "How much longer do we have to walk?" Shi Huinwanwan asked breathlessly while struggling to move forward. His gaze slowly swept across the tall and ancient trees around him, noticing their thick roots intertwining like giant hands reaching out from deep within the earth, tightly gripping the land. It was deep night, and the forest was exceptionally quiet, with only the occasional calls of night owls and the rustling of leaves in the wind. The dense branches and leaves intertwined, forming a thick canopy that completely blocked out the moonlight. The hazy moonlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, making the interwoven branches look like clawing monsters lurking in the dark, waiting for the right moment to strike. Shi Huinwanwan couldn't help but shiver. A wave of inexplicable fear surged within him. He shrank his body, trying to give himself some warmth and courage, but that chill clung to him like a shadow, refusing to go away. The air around seemed to have solidified, making it difficult for him to breathe. "Almost there. Get ready, we can start soon." The unicorn in front did not turn around, But just as its words fell, the pony beside Shi Huinwanwan lifted its right hoof, without any pause, and directly slammed it onto Shi Huinwanwan's neck. Receiving this sudden heavy blow, he fell over without resistance, losing consciousness. The boundary line. When Shi Huinwanwan woke up again, he found himself surrounded by this group of little ponies, with his limbs bound by ropes. The little ponies had gruesome expressions, their eyes gleaming with greed, all fixated on the scales on Shi Huinwanwan's back. At that moment, Shi Huinwanwan's heart sank. The unicorn was standing not far away, playing with the gold coins in its hooves. "You're awake, let us begin." The unicorn swung its hoof, and a nearby land horse picked up an iron clamp with its front hooves, directly clamping down on the golden scales on Shi Huinwanwan's back. Tear. The iron clamp ripped off a piece of flesh and scale, blood splattering everywhere, and the intense pain overwhelmed Shi Huinwanwan. "Keep going. Crack. Tear. Crack. Tear. No. Crack. Tear. Crack. Please, don't do this. Tear. Shi Huinwanwan could no longer resist, and could only painfully collapse onto the cold ground. The unbearable pain made his body tremble uncontrollably, and he emitted weak and trembling words, desperately pleading with the cruel little horses to spare him. Tears flowed like a breached dam, mixing with blood and staining the ground beneath him. The intense pain triggered Shi Huinwanwan's survival instinct. The horn on his forehead emitted a golden light, stopping the clamp that was about to grasp his scales. "How can it still use magic?" The unicorn frowned, looking displeased at the land horses. "We thought it was just a cub. We didn't expect it to have magic." "Forget it. The unicorn's horn is valuable. Let us just cut it off." The unicorn waved its hoof in disdain. "Yes." Before Shi Huinwanwan could react, another land horse raised a hammer high and struck directly at his horn without any hesitation. Bang! With a dull sound, intense pain instantly engulfed his entire body, as if it were being torn apart, and Shi Huinwanwan fainted. "All right, if it's out cold, let us move quickly, then wake it up. Only when this guy is conscious can the pain prompt it to channel magic into the scales." The land horse took the order, pulled out a saw, and pressed it against Shi Huinwanwan's horn. So painful, so painful. Shi Huinwanwan's tear ducts and salivary glands completely lost control. Tears gushed out like a flood, sliding down his cheeks. Saliva flowed freely from the corners of his mouth, pooling into a wet stain on the ground. Suddenly, there was a loud splash, and a stream of icy water was violently splashed onto his head, which still retained some warmth. Slowly, Shi Huinwanwan struggled to open his eyes, but his vision was somewhat blurred due to the tears. At this moment, his horn was already gone, leaving only a lonely stump in the center of his forehead. The pain from that loss felt like 1,000 ants gnawing at his heart, causing him to tremble involuntarily. Instinctively, his body called upon all its magic and quickly spread it across the scales on his back. These scales flickered with a faint glow, as if trying to resist the new wave of torment that was about to come. The nearby land horse greedily glanced at the awakened Shi Huinwanwan and said, "He is awake, let us continue." As soon as he finished speaking, the other companions around immediately took action. Several strong individuals held down Shi Huinwanwan's forelimbs tightly, preventing him from moving even an inch. Another one picked up a shabby wooden bucket to start filling it with clean water, while the one who spoke readied a rusty iron clamp, preparing to cruelly work on Shi Huinwanwan again. Watching the iron clamp clamped onto him once more, Shi Huinwanwan silently closed his eyes. He could no longer remember how many times he had woken up. He had once prayed, whether it was the legendary old bearded star Xian or the princess Celestia his grandmother spoke of, but he knew these prayers were futile. No one would come to save him. "This way is fine. No more little horses will bully me. There will be no more stones or clamps. I'm just sorry for Grandma, leaving her all alone. So tired. Sleep. If you're tired, just go to sleep. No one will blame you." "What about Grandma? Grandma has always loved Nuannuan. She will forgive Nuannuan. Is that so? Sleep. All right." Bang. Little horse Maria, damn it. Accompanied by this roar, an elderly unicorn stood behind the land horse holding the iron clamp, gripping a mountaineering stick tightly in her hoof, the sharp part of the stick glinting coldly. Whoosh. The iron staff swung, and with a dull sound, the sharp end of the mountaineering stick instantly pierced into the land horse's skull. In an instant, blood gushed out like a fountain, flying wildly in the air, creating shocking bloodlines. The white brain matter also splattered, mixing with the bright red blood, forming a gruesome scene. The horizontal part of the mountaineering stick, which had already had some red paint-like marks, was now soaked in blood, looking vividly bright, as if telling its past story. Chapter 5. Know if suddenly. A familiar voice rang in Shihue Nuanyuan's ears, like a lightning bolt breaking through the darkness, causing him to abruptly open his heavy eyelids. As his vision gradually cleared, he saw his grandmother wielding the mountaineering stick, having just smashed the head of the leading land horse beneath her feet. At this moment, the land horse was motionless, clearly killed by a single blow from his grandmother's stick. However, Grandma did not stop. She swiftly pulled out the stick from the land horse's skull and turned around, swinging the stick fiercely toward another land horse trying to sneak attack. With a bang, the land horse screamed, covering its right eye, rolling on the ground in pain, crying out, "My eye! My eye!" Blood flowed copiously from between its eyes, staining the ground. "You spineless cowards! Bullying my grandson is nothing. Come at me, you old hag." After saying this, the horn on her head glowed, and magic surged forth. Shihue Nuanyuan felt his body lift up. He wanted to call out, but he had no strength left. At that moment, a third land horse lunged from behind her, pinning her down, locking her with its front limbs. The fourth land horse swung a hammer towards Grandma's horn, trying to deliver a fatal blow. Grandma frowned, tilted her head to dodge the hammer aimed at her, while the land horse behind her was struck hard. At the same time, the mountaineering stick was magically controlled, pulling a spherical object from the wailing land horse's eye socket. It spun and smashed into the land horse's temple, causing it to fall into darkness, dropping the hammer in a panic, attempting to pull out the sharp object stuck in its temple. Meanwhile, Grandma had already broken free, grabbed the staff, kicked down the land horse in front of her, swiftly pulled out the mountaineering stick, and turned to kill the land horse behind her that was holding its head. Suddenly, her previously fluid movements came to a halt. She felt the magic controlling Shihue Nuanyuan interrupted. Damn it! Grandma swung the mountaineering stick, turning around once more, accelerating the magic and hurling it behind her. There was a clang. The flying mountaineering stick struck the magical shield and bounced off, embedding itself in a thick rock wall. Don't move. I think you know the consequences. The unicorn walked slowly from behind Shihue Nuanyuan, one hoof resting on his neck, the other hoof lifting a broken unicorn horn, gesturing with it in front of Shihue Nuanyuan's eyes. Grandma's face twisted with anger, her brows tightly knitted, veins bulging on her forehead as if they would burst at any moment. Her eyes burned with fierce rage, so intense it seemed it could reduce everything before her to ashes. At that moment, she was glaring at the unicorn, her gaze piercing like two sharp swords. With only one thought in her mind, she wished she could immediately devour this despicable unicorn alive. I should have smashed a cone into your eye socket from the very beginning. That thing mixed with eyeballs, brain matter, and skull should be fed to those damned shapeshifters. Hee hee, don't compare me to you and those disgusting races, old lady, the unicorn said with a smile. With a wave of his hand, the land horse behind Grandma suddenly picked up the hammer on the ground and smashed it hard against Grandma's back of the head. Oh! Shihue Nuanyuan watched as Grandma fell. Time seemed to pause at that moment. Grandma collapsed in a pool of blood, and Shihue Nuanyuan's world seemed to collapse at that instant. His eyes blurred with tears, a low roar escaped his throat, a release of pain and sorrow. He knelt in midair, waving his hooves, trying to catch Grandma's falling body. His body trembled continuously, tears bursting forth like a dam breaking. His heart felt as if it were being torn apart by animals, so painful that he couldn't breathe. If he hadn't agreed to the unicorn's words, if he had noticed earlier, if he hadn't longed for so-called friendship, if there were no ifs, he simply couldn't do anything. Is it painful? Is it regretful? You can rest assured that I originally planned to deal with you, and then prepare to saw off your grandmother's unicorn horn at your home. After all, unicorn horns are also rare commodities. The unicorn's hoof gently caressed the warm mane of Shihue, revealing a malicious smile. However, it turned out well. She delivered herself right to my door. Come on, look, the unicorn used magic to hold Shihue's eyelids open, wanting to force him to witness the process of his loved one having their horns sawed off and being brutally killed. A glance caught Shihue floating in the air, and he couldn't help but be stunned. Wasn't his body color white? When the pitch-black forelimbs weakly droop in the air, Shihue Nuanyuan's body color turns black, and a dangerous red glow emanates from his eyes as he looks at the unicorn beside him. His originally delicate voice begins to deepen. You can give it a try. His voice is low and hoarse yet incredibly calm, as if it came from hell. If you can do it. Immediately, under the terrified gaze of the unicorn, Shihue Nuanyuan grows sharp fangs, and his mane transforms into flames. Boom! A deafening roar echoed across the sky. From the depths of the dense forest, a towering pillar of raging flames suddenly erupted, shaking the earth as if the very ground trembled in fear. Like a roaring fire dragon, it shot straight into the heavens. The dazzling blaze instantly illuminated all of Equestria, turning the once darkness-shrouded world as bright as day. The flames danced wildly, licking the surrounding air and releasing waves of scorching heat and acrid smoke. Trees crackled and burst under the intense heat, their leaves and branches reduced to ashes that scattered into the air. This astonishing spectacle lasted only a few fleeting moments before vanishing like an illusion. When silence finally returned, the charred earth, shattered trees, and rocks twisted by the searing heat stood as silent witnesses to the devastation left behind. These remnants were undeniable proof of the fire pillar's existence, a testament to its terrifying power. Radiant Warmth slowly stepped forward, her hooves moving with deliberate calm. In those few seconds, the unicorn had been reduced to a charred statue, his face frozen in terror. The hoof that had once rested on his neck crumbled into dust as Radiant Warmth pulled away. Her body began to expand at a visible rate, rapidly growing into the size of a full-grown adult horse. As she grew, her once soft and gentle coat darkened, eventually turning as black as ink. Her mane and tail ignited in an instant, transforming into roaring flames that flickered and danced as if alive. Each strand of hair glowed with an intense heat, casting an eerie and majestic aura around her. Her mouth, once lined with neat white teeth, now bore sharp, jagged fangs that sent chills down the spine. Her eyes emitted an eerie cyan glow, like ghostly flames flickering in the darkness, radiating an aura of dread. Step by step, she advanced toward her fallen grandmother. Chapter 6. The battle begins. What kind of monster is this? 3 Earth ponies huddled together in terror, watching as Radiant Warmth slowly approached them. They stumbled backward, their fear overwhelming. The scorching heat distorted the air and melted the surrounding rocks. Then, the broken horn on Radiant Warmth's forehead began to glow, drawing molten ore from the cave. The liquid metal floated through the air, surging toward her and coating her entire body. Gurgle, gurgle, sizzle. The molten ore twisted, writhed, and reshaped itself. A flash of fire solidified it into a full suit of armor that encased her body. Her broken horn reformed, and beneath her helmet, her eyes burned with a crimson light, exuding authority and ruthlessness. Yet, in this moment, Radiant Warmth's mind was in chaos. She glanced at the charred unicorn beside her hooves, and the haze in her pupils seemed to clear slightly. Protect her! The fearsome ironclad beast seemed to lose its ferocity. Slowly, she lowered her head, gently licking her grandmother's wounds before nuzzling the unicorn's mane. It was as if the earlier danger had never existed. Here, there was only a foal seeking comfort from her grandmother. Then, without warning, an earth-shattering explosion tore through the silence. As if the world itself were being ripped apart. It was as though all things peaceful and beautiful were meant to be destroyed, before anyone could react. A blinding black laser streaked across the sky like lightning, hurtling straight toward Radiant Warmth. A furious roar thundered through the air. Monster, by the supreme authority of this palace, I command you to depart from that unicorn at once, lest you face the merciless wrath of my hand and be reduced to ashes. The voice was deafening, as if the entire world trembled beneath it, brimming with boundless arrogance and majesty. The speaker clearly held themselves in the highest regard, believing they possessed absolute power and authority, capable of effortlessly controlling the situation. A small pony adorned with a black crown descended from the sky, its cutie mark a silvery crescent moon, its body a deep blue, with partially transparent mane strewn with starlight. Equipped with both a horn and wings, the hallmarks of an alicorn, this celestial being was none other than Princess Luna, the sovereign of the moon in Equestria, tasked with raising and lowering the night sky. Sensing the intense heat of the flames, Luna swiftly flapped her wings to evade. Immediately afterward, a barrage of fireballs came hurtling toward her. Only then did she remember to counter with magic, firing beams of laser-like energy in retaliation. The two collided, and the deafening roar echoed across the sky. As the smoke cleared, Shi Huinuanyuan raised his head and silently gazed at Luna hovering in the air. He wasn't thinking anything particularly profound, mainly because he couldn't fly and had no effective aerial combat skills. 2 more lasers exploded against Shi Huinuanyuan's body, and with a crisp crack, his armor began to fracture. His previously composed eyes instantly darkened with fury. Whoosh! Flames erupted from within Shi Huinuanyuan, engulfing him entirely. His steed began to melt away, revealing a radiant figure glowing from within. The lasers Luna fired were incinerated by the flames, fueling their rapid expansion. Several familiar surges of magical energy made her freeze in shock. Horrified, she stared at the monstrous transformation unfolding within the blinding radiance. Accompanied by the spine-chilling sounds of bones dislocating and muscles tearing apart, the creature's form began to warp in a grotesque, and unnatural manner. Originally moving on all fours, it slowly straightened its posture, shifting its weight onto its hind limbs. Hunched over, as its body straightened, its hooves gradually morphed into razor-sharp claws, gleaming with a cold light, as if capable of effortlessly shredding anything that stood in its way. Meanwhile, its elongated forelimbs no longer supported its body, hanging in the air. The sturdy armor that once covered its entire body suddenly began to melt, transforming into flowing liquid metal, as if alive, swiftly surging toward the monster's back and hands. This liquid metal quickly gathered together, with part of it condensing in the monster's hands into a pair of huge and ferocious steel claws, each claw exuding a chilling aura. Another part formed on its back, creating 3 acceleration devices resembling aircraft engines, all pitch black with a surface that glimmered with a cold metallic sheen. With a swift motion, the steel claws slashed through the air, instantly tearing apart the surrounding atmosphere with 3 blazing flames that resembled claw marks. These flames, like burning blades, carried fierce winds and raced toward Luna with astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, the flames collided with the magical shield Princess Luna had conjured, resulting in a deafening explosion. To everyone's astonishment, this brief yet violent contact shattered the seemingly indestructible magical shield like a mirror. Princess Luna, frightened by this, turned pale and immediately cast a spatial magic spell, her figure flickering as she attempted to swiftly teleport to safety. However, just as she completed her teleportation, a strange rumbling sound suddenly reached her ears. Startled, she quickly scanned her surroundings, but all she could see was a cloud of swirling dust, making it impossible to discern what had produced such a strange sound. In her panic, she failed to notice that Shihue Nuan had silently broken through the thick haze and appeared behind her like a ghost. At that moment, Shihue Nuan opened its massive jaws, revealing sharp, glistening fangs that locked onto Princess Luna's slender neck. A chilling, murderous intent, as if she had fallen into an ice cellar, instantly enveloped her, causing her delicate body to tremble and become rigid. In her mind, she vividly pictured a horrifying scene of her neck being ruthlessly bitten off, blood splattering everywhere. However, just at this critical moment, a miracle happened. Shihue Nuan's enormous and fierce body suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light, rising like a brilliant golden sun in the sky. This sudden brilliance caused its mouth, which was about to close fiercely, to halt in midair. Meanwhile, behind Shihue Nuan, a mysterious and beautiful celestial unicorn had quietly appeared without her noticing. This celestial unicorn was pure white as jade, and its pink mane shimmered like the splendid sunset in the sky, gently swaying and exuding a noble and warm aura. The newcomer was none other than Princess Celestia, another ruler of Ponyland. Her long horns sparkled with dazzling golden light, containing boundless powerful magic. This magic seemed to have a life of its own, transforming into golden chains that tightly wrapped around Shihue Nuan's massive body, forcibly restraining it in midair. Celestia enveloped herself and Princess Luna in magic, and the 2 sisters teleported to a safe distance from Shihue Nuan. I already said my matters are none of your concern. Princess Luna pushed Celestia away with her hoof, her eyes unwillingly gazing at the now freed Shihue Nuan in the distance. I know you're dissatisfied, my sister, but now is not the time to argue about the moon's rising and setting, Celestia said softly. Now, we have a problem that needs to be resolved. I need you. Luna, for the sake of Ponyland, please help me deal with the current enemy first, okay? Luna looked at her sister, who showed a troubled expression, then glanced around at the devastation caused by the flames, and finally, all her emotions turned into a sigh. I understand. Luna lowered her eyes, contemplating, then shifted her tone. But this isn't over. I won't back down on that matter. A hint of sadness flashed in Celestia's eyes, but it quickly transformed into determination. The unicorn sisters would unite once again. They would surely understand each other. The 2 sisters gathered their magic in the air, preparing for battle, while Shihue Nuan on the ground had its engines spewing out scorching flames, burning fiercely. Chapter 7. Celestia. With a deafening roar, the engines erupted with a long tail flame from within. This hot and powerful force continuously outputted, providing Shihue Nuan with strong propulsion. A sharp sound of slicing air was heard as the incredibly sharp steel claws suddenly tore through the surrounding atmosphere, carrying a surging flow of air, striking toward the 2 sisters like lightning. Luna stepped backward, becoming a shadow, disappearing behind Celestia, as the magical glow flashed at her sister's horn, fearlessly meeting the steel claws that were swinging toward her. Despite the steel claws successfully tearing into the celestial unicorn's neck unexpectedly, there was no scene of blood splattering as anticipated. A shadow quietly climbed up the steel claws and immediately began to spread across them. At that moment, a wound on Celestia's neck suddenly emitted an incredibly bright light, like a dazzling new star bursting forth in the darkness. Then, with a thunderous bang, a brilliant light suddenly exploded in front of Shihuan. This sudden brilliance pierced like a sharp sword directly into its eyes, instantly stimulating the retina, causing everything to turn white and plunging it into a temporary state of blindness. "Aya!" Shihuan cried out in pain, covering its eyes, letting out an angry roar as the steel claws began to wildly thrash in the air as if in a fit of rage. Just then, the dark shadow transformed into chains, momentarily binding it in place. Seizing the opportunity while Shihuan was still restrained, the real Celestia quietly appeared directly above its head. Her horn shone with a mysterious and dazzling light, clearly having gathered immense magical power, which she unleashed without hesitation at this critical moment. In an instant, a thick golden beam descended from the sky, striking Shihuan with thunderous force. The tremendous impact sent it crashing into the solid ground below like a cannonball. When the light cannon hit the ground, the force was blocked and rebounded by the earth, causing its energy to rapidly spread in all directions. Dust flew, and debris scattered, forming a massive shockwave that completely engulfed Shihuan's body. Is it solved? The shadow transformed back into the black, celestial unicorn in the air, and Luna couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Not yet, Celestia replied calmly. The magic instantly wrapped tightly around the two sisters, and with a flash of light, they vanished without a trace. At the same time, a scorching pillar of fire descended from the sky, directly piercing through the spot where they had just been. At this moment, Shihuan's numerous wounds began to emit wisps of white smoke, as if a mysterious power was healing these injuries. Remarkably, its wounds healed at a visibly astonishing speed, quickly returning to normal without leaving a single scar. The sisters, who appeared not far away, were taken aback at this scene. It seems that putting this guy in front of us to death is not an easy task. Luna, do you feel that? Celestia turned her head to look at Luna beside her. Our magical power or familiar aura is mixed together, yours and mine. Even the teacher's magic is among them. Gurgle. Shihuan suddenly bent down, gasping for breath, her body slightly trembling due to excessive physical exhaustion. A wave of hunger surged in her heart, making her feel as if countless little bugs were gnawing at her insides. Saliva rapidly increased in her mouth, uncontrollably dripping down the corners of her mouth, forming strands of gleaming silver. Not only that, but the flames burning on her body also became a bit sluggish at this moment, losing their former fierce momentum. The beast-like vertical pupils scanned the surroundings, and finally, she spotted the unicorn lying on the ground, completely defenseless, and the three land horses huddled together in fear, trembling, as if sensing the aura of her prey. The flames on Shihuan surged violently, crazily converging towards it. In the blink of an eye, the flames intertwined with the swirling dust, completely obscuring her figure. On the other side, the sisters thought Shihuan was preparing for a final struggle, not daring to slack off for a moment. They quickly urged the magic within themselves, continuously pouring it into their unicorn. They stood ready, fully focused, waiting for the impending fierce attack. This scream was like a thunderclap that shattered the sky, instantly attracting the attention of everyone present. A robust land horse was seen collapsing to the ground, its face pale as paper, eyes wide open, continuously letting out a wailing cry. That voice seemed to come from the depths of hell, sending chills down one's spine. Looking at the land horse's forelimbs, a shocking scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. The originally strong forelimbs now only had half left. The broken ends were bloody and messy, with fresh blood gushing out continuously. Surrounding the wound were uneven, terrifying marks as if it had been brutally torn off. It was evident that this horse's forelimb had been bitten off by some fierce beast, leading to such a tragic state. Two hooves with bones made a crunching sound in Shihuan's mouth, and with a gulp, they were swallowed. Just as the beast's eyes slightly turned, it fixed its gaze on the land horse that had already lost the ability to move and was lying limply on the ground, its mouth involuntarily grinning, revealing sharp and pointed fangs. Immediately afterward, Shihuan opened her bloody maw again and lunged at the poor land horse like a lightning bolt. In an instant, lights surged like a tide from all directions, and a dazzling figure suddenly appeared in front of the land horse. It was Celestia, who had arrived just in time, and a transparent protective shield unfolded instantly, like an indestructible shield, firmly blocking Shihuan's fierce steel claws. "Hey, you two, hurry and get out of here. This is not a place for you to linger," Celestia shouted angrily, turning to the two land horses behind her. However, when her gaze swept across the ground, She was astonished to find another land horse lying there, motionless. It was clear that this horse had been knocked down by its companion nearby, intending to take the opportunity to escape this crisis. Celestia couldn't help but frown, silently lamenting. Great. Now the number of ponies that need protection has increased by 1. Faced with such a situation, even Celestia felt a bit overwhelmed. Once Pony Maria completely stabilizes, I must immediately announce my retirement. I really don't want to deal with these messy troubles any longer. Celestia, while desperately resisting Shihue Nwan's attacks, couldn't help but loudly vent her long-suppressed emotions. At this moment, she even began to consider whether she should recruit a hard-working and selfless student and pass her throne to the other, so she could free herself from this endless turmoil and toil sooner. Crash! With a loud sound, the protective shield was suddenly torn apart, and a steel claw shimmering with cold light suddenly shot out, swiftly lunging towards her. As the deadly blow was about to land on her fair and delicate neck, just a few centimeters away, her heart tightened, a chill surged up her spine, and her body involuntarily shivered. At that moment, Shihue Nwan, who had been roaring wildly, finally recognized the celestial beast before her, and when she recognized this figure, an unbidden rage and resentment surged within her heart. They erupted uncontrollably like a volcanic eruption. Celestia! That voice seemed to pierce through the clouds, shattering everything around. At this moment, an aura that sent chills down the spine radiated from Shihue Nwan. Pure killing intent surged like a tide. Faced with such a terrifying scene, even the usually calm and composed Celestia couldn't help but feel a bit frightened. She raised her head in terror and shouted hoarsely, "Luna, save me!" Chapter 8 End. Luna. Celestia's cry echoed through the sky. "You don't need to call. I already know." Princess Luna flapped her wings, wanting to first move the elderly unicorn away. The mighty Celestia. If she didn't leave herself a way out, she'd be pulling the beard of old White Star. White Star. Roar. Wow. Celestia's cries and Shihue Nwan's roars came from afar, but Luna was unfazed, silently casting a teleportation spell, hoping to take the injured away from this place of chaos. Roar. Luna. Shut up. She wasn't very good at spatial magic and needed to calm down. After all, she only learned it to deal with the old guy. Usually Celestia was enough since she would handle it. Roar. Luna. At this moment, Luna seemed to see a novelist with a body like a pineapple, enduring the intense pain on her body, running towards her on a bridge made of light, shaking her hair, waving her arms, running towards her in a way that made her vision darken, shouting, "Luna, who is this?" Luna was about to cast her spatial magic when it was suddenly interrupted. Wait, is the sound getting louder? Luna dared to turn her head, only to see Shihue Nwan had opened her mouth wide, lunging at her head, with sharp teeth still mixed with the blood from the hooves she had eaten earlier. Frightened, she turned into a shadow, tightening her own shadow, quickly distancing herself from the scene. "I already warned you, but you didn't listen." Celestia rolled her eyes, her tone revealing a hint of grievance. "But I thought, it's nothing. My fault." Wait, Luna suddenly remembered something. Originally lowering her head to ease her embarrassment, she suddenly raised her head. "Unicorn. Celestia. That horse. All right, my sister, I know what you want to express. But it seems we just need to wait." Following Celestia's astonished gaze, Luna saw Shihue Nwan kneeling in front of the unicorn. Her bloodshot beast eyes were tightly fixed on the unicorn. The hunger contained within seemed ready to burst forth like a flood. Not good. Quick. Princess Luna wanted to step forward to stop it, but Celestia blocked her with her wing. "Calm down, Luna. Don't judge by appearances." Celestia glanced sideways. Following her gaze, Luna saw that Shihue Nwan's cold steel claws had somehow pierced into her mouth, firmly gripping her jaw, preventing her mouth from closing. Blood mixed with saliva flowed onto the ground. At this moment, instinct and reason were entangled together. With a tearing sound, under the terrified gaze of her sisters, he actually ripped his own jaw off. A painful cry mixed with blood surged from his throat, the remaining teeth hanging in the air along with the dangling rotten flesh. The jaw, along with the skin from the neck, was torn off, and red liquid gushed from the vibrant skin, staining the ground. Rationality refused to allow it to draw energy from this unicorn at all costs. So the only way was for Shihue Nwan to shakily rise from the ground and look toward the nearby Tianjiao beast sisters. The blood overflowing from the wound flowed throughout the body, and although she looked so weak, it was eerily chilling. I bet even that old starry Xian has never seen something so outrageous. Luna looked at the nearby monster, which, despite not making any moves, stared intensely at them, making her feel somewhat scared. Even the nightmares of little ponies don't have such things. It seems this guy has experienced something, but we need to fight first. Boom. Celestia still wanted to say something, but the ground suddenly shook violently beneath her feet. She sensed the direction of the tremor. Her expression froze. It was a volcano. That volcano was about to erupt under the magical pull of Shihuan. Oh no. Celestia flew into the sky, surveying the surrounding terrain with a serious expression. What's wrong? What happened? Luna followed closely behind, nervously asking as she saw her sister, who was usually so carefree, suddenly become serious. Celestia pointed at the smoke-emitting volcano in the distance and said, "That volcano, guided by that monster, is about to erupt." Starry Xian's book contains descriptions of the intensity and scale of volcanic eruptions. It looks like the outcome will be very severe, leading to massive explosions, pyroclastic flows, and volcanic ash and toxic gases, enough to cause great harm to Pony Maria. Celestia's explanation was suddenly cut off because Luna had already lowered her head and was floating in the air, a bubble of snot on her nose indicating her long-developed habit. Celestia slapped her forehead with a hoof and then shouted, "Luna! I'm not sleeping. I'm meditating. I'm listening to class. Teacher Starry Xian." Luna was so frightened that she began to tremble in the air, almost reflexively saying those words, causing Celestia to look at her suddenly unwelcome sister with some helplessness. In any case, seeing Celestia's serious expression made Luna realize the urgency of the moment and calm down to listen to Celestia's words. Originally, because that pony was next to that monster, we couldn't act, but it seems we may have some misunderstanding with that guy. However, his current actions threaten the safety of Pony Maria. You also saw it. That guy has a strong self-healing ability. I'm not sure if we can defeat him quickly. We can't gamble, so you mean to use the essence of harmony. Luna realized what Celestia wanted to say. Since their direct Cold War began, they hadn't used the magic of the essence of harmony. Yes, my sister. Celestia's unicorn magic surged, and 5 stone spheres were brought here by spatial magic, surrounding her. The stone spheres, symbolizing the 5 spirits of harmony, emitted different colors of light. Can we have a truce, my sister? I need you. Celestia's eyes were filled with longing as she extended a hoof toward Princess Luna. This was not a command from a ruler, but a request from a sister longing to reconcile with her sibling. Anxiety, longing, expectation, and love for family. Seeing the various emotions in Celestia's eyes, Luna turned her head somewhat reluctantly. I really give up on you. I know this is not the time for me to mess around, but I still stand by what I said. I will not back down, Celestia. No, sister. Perhaps our previous struggles should take a break. Saying this, Luna extended her hoof and touched Celestia's hoof. At this moment, the 6th stone sphere appeared out of thin air, representing the harmony element of magic, emitting a purple glow, swirling around the other 5 harmony elements. Honesty, kindness, laughter, generosity, loyalty. All harmony elements gathered at this moment, and 6 colored light bands extended from the harmony elements, intertwining, merging, and surging forth. The essence of harmony created a rainbow-like magical shockwave, surging towards Shihuan. Roar. Feeling the threat of the rainbow cannon, Shihuan raised a paw to try to stop this moment from happening. The rainbow cannon did not hit Shihuan, but spread outwards, surrounding her, compressing, and finally exploding outward. The spreading harmony magic calmed the agitated volcano, extinguishing the spreading flames, including a certain injured unicorn. Grandma's once tightly closed eyes slowly opened a slit and then suddenly widened. The place where the monster had stood had now transformed into a uniquely shaped unicorn statue, which was the original appearance of Shihuan. Chapter 9, Chaos. Shihuan opened her eyes. That extremely evil Lord Shaflin looked at the little pony in front of him and pulled out a photo from behind. Hiss, wrong recognition. This is clearly a mistake of species. Hey, I'm so dead. Let us get out of here before he wakes up. Where's this? Shihuan opened her eyes and found herself in a mysterious and twisted realm. There were no fixed forms or rules here. Everything was in constant change and chaos. The air was filled with strange energy, flickering light, and bizarre, colorful yet unpredictable hues. This is the chaos space. Creatures that come here seem to be in a surreal dream. The shapes and sizes of objects constantly change, sometimes stretching, sometimes twisting, creating an overwhelming sense of confusion and unease. What is that sound? Shihuan patted her head, as strange sounds emerged from her ears. Strange liquid flowed on the ground, sometimes gathering into lakes, sometimes dispersing into streams, as if it had its own will. The space was also filled with various strange sounds, low roars, sharp cries, and melodious tunes. These sounds intertwined, forming an indescribable cacophony. Here, the concepts of time and space also became blurred, making it impossible to discern direction and position. At first, Shihue felt somewhat uncomfortable, but soon adapted, as the distorted things around her seemed to reveal a pattern. Huh, am I adapting? Why can I hear this sound? Shihue turned to look around. And then she saw the cosmic Superman, opening his eyes. I am Shaflin. What the heck? Looking at the fainted red giant in front of him and the red giant waking him up, Shihue felt it was somewhat absurd. Just as she turned her head, a horse's head suddenly appeared in front of her. Wow! Shihue was startled and took a step back. And only then did she see clearly what was in front of her. It was a tall dragon horse. Specifically a creature with a horse's head, but with a form and style different from other ponies. With a deer antler on the right, a blue ram's horn on the left, a long sharp tooth, uneven pupils, a snake's tongue, a goat's beard, and thick white eyebrows made up its face. Its right upper limb was a lion's paw, the left upper limb was an eagle's claw, the right lower limb was a lizard's leg, and the left lower limb was a goat's hoof. In addition, it also had a bat's right wing and a pegasus's left wing, a horse's mane, and a dragon-like snake tail with a white tip. Its eyes sparkled with a cunning light, making it hard to fathom its thoughts. He always had a mischievous smile on his face, making it feel like he could do something unexpected at any moment. At that moment, he curiously stroked his chin, sizing up Shihue from top to bottom, then turned his head and asked, "Old man? Huh, am I that old? Why do you call me that?" It seemed like he wasn't, which was interesting. Wushu raised an eyebrow, placing his hand on Shihue neck, as if they were old friends who had known each other for years, and said, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Wushu, the Chaos Ruler, King of Pranks. Master of Chaos. I'm Shihue. I'm a little pony? Oh my buddy, you don't look like a little pony at all. Just look at you. I almost mistook you for that old man turned into a little guy to mess with me. Moreover, ordinary little ponies can't come here." Here? Shihue looked around and couldn't help but nod. This place was indeed not somewhere ordinary little ponies could come. Well, you must be very confused. This is my Chaos Town, and only Wushu and those recognized by Wushu can come here. Looking at you, I think you should be beep beep beep. A strange sound interrupted Wushu's words. He was first taken aback, then ecstatic, waving his arms and shouting, "I found that old man." Shihue rubbed his ears. The double sound made him a bit tinnitus. "Come quickly. I found the old man. You're just in time. We have an audience for our game," Wushu said as he pulled Shihue into his arms and snapped his fingers. The two of them exploded into smoke and ribbons. When Shihue opened his eyes again, he found Wushu holding him above a vast ocean. Looking at the chaotic sky, they were still in the chaotic space. And on a small island at sea level stood a little pony. What was even more eye-catching was the helmet on his head that resembled a robot, with golden striped metal structures on his cheeks and red eyes shaped like the sun. "Old man, this time I've prepared thoroughly to deal with you. You will be defeated here," Wushu shouted fiercely. Roar. Little Wushu is still so energetic. "Since you're so serious this time, old man, I should show some skill too." The voice that came from under the helmet sounded somewhat aged, yet one could imagine it belonged to a grandpa playing with his grandson. Shihue stared blankly, feeling the cold wind blowing from the sea. Can you imagine? Two chaotic beings summoning Godzilla and King Ghidorah. The two titanic beasts engaged in a grand battle on this vast ocean. The two sovereigns battled to the edge of the universe, obliterating the Great Path. Initially, King Ghidorah emerged victorious, but then Wushu pulled out a round ring, using two cards, one to summon a nuclear bomb, and the other to summon a giant moth. Then, like a beautiful country neon display of two suns, he threw them down together, merging them into a red lotus Godzilla that turned the tide. In the end, the helmeted pony pulled out a clock to summon the phantoms of past King Ghidorahs, shouting loudly, "Celebrate!" Exclamation point, and devoured Wushu's Godzilla entirely. Extra. A letter from Wushu. Dear Ro, the dust in our little house forms your silhouette at 2 in the morning. The mist of the eternal freedom forest has recently begun to take the shape of your voice. I've collected all the dewdrops that say good morning and kept them in the rainbow glass bottle you gave me. The clock sent by Ziyue has grown rabbit ears, and every afternoon tea time, it bites my tail. I followed your instructions and gave it carrots instead of lightning. And now it has gnawed the hour hand into a crescent shape. Yunbao said the clouds in Ponyville have started raining chocolate again. How strange. I haven't touched weather magic in 30 years, and those melted cocoa butters tasted salty and bitter when they flowed into my mouth through the gaps in my scales. I realized my horn was dripping. The spider webs in the attic have formed the shape of your wings. Yesterday, for the 100th time, I spilled tea on the hoofwork embroidered tablecloth. Those tea stain clearing spells you taught me for 3 months I now use more skillfully than anyone else. Do you remember? That spring when you had a fever but still came to fold my blankets, saying a Chaos Lord's lair shouldn't have neat squares. Now, I tuck the corners of the blankets into right angles every day, and even the cotton candy clouds are arranged like a lightning Pegasus team. The clock tower in Canterlot always chimes at 3 in the morning. They say it's me unconsciously turning the gears of time. But I know it's those spirits you tamed counting the days without tea party invitations. The squirrels still come every day to knock on the crystal window. I arranged the nuts into an equilateral triangle as you taught me, but they just stared blankly at my twisted hooves. When the last robin flew away with a violet, my shadow shattered into 17 pieces in the sunset, each reflecting the steam of the first cup of chamomile tea you taught me to brew. The morning dew has formed the words "I'm sorry" on the windowsill again. This time, I didn't wipe it away. I just sprinkled a bit of rainbow powder into the letters' gaps. They say a Chaos Lord shouldn't have a heart. But why does my scale-covered left chest seep melted rainbow syrup every time I see your empty house standing isolated in the wind? Those bows you used to bandage my wounds are taking root along my spine, and the flowers they bloom smell like the daisies on your wingtips. The scarf you started weaving in the attic is still growing. The yarn secretly sneaks out every morning to string the morning dew into a pearl necklace hanging on my scales. Last week, I discovered they had embroidered the scene of our wedding day with spider silk, the daisy wreath on your wings, my bow tie that got knotted from nervousness, and the layer cake we knocked over while laughing. Now, every grain of frosting repeats I do under the moonlight, like the lullaby you always hummed to soothe my runaway magic. Forever belonging to you, Chaos. Chapter 10 Extra. Departure. The Mother-S spinning wheel sways through the moonlight. Kindness woven into every strand of morning frost. When the fire of the race is on the verge of extinction, she offers her milk to nurture those afar. Honesty's fruits hang heavy on the branches. The village girl counts the time in the orchard. The promised dawn will not fail. Dew kisses her freckled cheeks. The warrior's armor is etched with old arrow wounds. When loyalty transforms into a sonic boom, she dons a rainbow and pierces the clouds. Golden shuttles and silver threads weave the Milky Way. The generous lady smiles as she cuts the daylight. Fate's threads tremble at her fingertips, spinning butterflies and thunderous symphonies. The tide turns misfortune into paper boats. Optimism is an unsinkable sail, letting chaos sow thorns in her skirt. She walks barefoot onto unknown shores. When legends fade into old bookmarks, friendship remains like a freshly brewed sweet spring. Magic gently turns in nursery rhymes, with no period, no regrets. The helmeted pony hummed a lullaby, using a handkerchief dipped in water to gently wipe the tombstone before him. He took off his hat, and the horn on his head emitted a glow, clearing away the scattered dead branches and leaves around. He placed grapes into his hat, then set a pot of brewed black tea in front of the tombstone marked with a pink butterfly symbol. The gentle girl always liked to have afternoon tea with her friends. He then placed a basket of apples in front of the tombstone marked with an orange apple symbol and took out a box of apple juice, placing it next to the tombstone marked with a red lightning symbol. They would think of their owner, who had been competing since childhood and was still competing to see who would outlive whom. Clearly, they both hoped the other would live longer than themselves. Well, these two fools are tough on the outside but soft on the inside. Thinking of this made him chuckle, a mix of helplessness and nostalgia. The helmeted pony turned around and sat by the tombstone marked with a purple gem symbol, taking out a copy of the latest fashion magazine from Little Maria. Sitting beside the tombstone, he carefully flipped through the pages one by one and earnestly shared his insights with the tombstone. Oh, that splendid and noble beauty. Does she ever think she would turn into a skeleton? Sorry, I didn't mean to provoke you. If possible, I would like to hear you hum again. In the end, that gravestone marked with the blue balloon, its owner, no matter how powerful, ultimately succumbed to time. She was the most interesting pony and also the most helpless one. The helmeted pony helplessly fired the cannon directly at the gravestone, exploding it, with ribbons and sparkling scales scattering everywhere. It looked like a celebration, but this was not disrespectful to the deceased. Or perhaps it was what that pony wrote in her will, wanting to hear the sound of fireworks in heaven as well. If the helmeted pony didn't feel it was a bit absurd, it wouldn't be a grave visit, but a party instead, with a dance party on the grave, which would be quite ridiculous. I'm leaving, everyone. The helmeted pony waved her hat, about to turn around, when she saw a purple unicorn pass through her body. It seemed to have no presence, neither seen nor touched. When that unicorn saw the well-tended gravestone and the offerings laid out, her pupils instantly narrowed, and tears welled up in her once dull eyes. The purple unicorn's hooves clopped against the lapis lazuli steps, staring at the gravestone where apples had already been offered. Her crystal-clear purple pupils uncontrollably shrinking. The seventh time, she raised her front hoof, and a magical halo swept over the dewdrops on the petals. The droplets refracted the moonlight from 300 years ago, reflecting the image of that clumsy stallion in her mind. The helmeted pony looked at the tired face of the unicorn in front of her, who appeared very dejected. Suddenly, the unicorn's wings uncontrollably spread, creating a whirlwind that tore the petals into white fragments. She let out a hoarse scream, and a magical beam turned the grass within a 10-meter radius into scorched earth in a fraction of a second. "You're here, aren't you?" The unicorn's horn began to ooze dark purple mist, a sign of magical overload. Memories slithered into her nerves like a venomous snake. That rainy night, which felt like ages ago, the warmth of that pony came through his rain-soaked fur. His breath burned her ear tips, and a strange scent of violet and blood intertwined in his mane. Now that scent seemed to seep from the rotting core of the bellflower, mixed with the unique stench of the cemetery's soil. The helmeted pony sighed softly, just turning to leave, when, boom, "Don't you dare escape." The vast land instantly crumbled under that terrifying force. The once solid ground shattered into pieces, large and small fragments scattering everywhere. Some were as big as houses, while others were as small as pellets, but all flew with astonishing speed and destructive power. Trees swayed precariously, as if gripped by an invisible giant hand, being uprooted from the ground. Countless fragments of earth, branches, and rocks flew through the air, swirling into a dust-colored whirlwind, as if the apocalypse had arrived. But in the next moment, she began to bombard the surrounding space, trying to tear apart the barrier between them. She could feel him here, but didn't he know exactly where? The space, under the unicorn's fierce strikes, cracked like a fragile mirror, with fine fissures appearing. The helmeted pony's eyes revealed sadness, softly murmuring something, his hooves gently caressing his lover's face, yet unable to touch her. "I'm sorry." These cracks spread like a spider web, as if the entire space was about to collapse. The unicorn gritted her teeth, using all her strength to brace her hooves against the expanding crack. Her hooves trembled slightly from the exertion, accompanied by a crisp sound, as the broken fragments of space swept across her body like a pack of ferocious beasts. In an instant, blood gushed from her wounds, blooming like tragic blood flowers in the air. However, at that moment, the unicorn wore a frenzied smile, blood mixed with dust streaming down her face, ignoring her injuries, continuing to hold that crack open. Crash! The crack in front of her was completely torn open, revealing a deep, dark space-time rift slowly unfolding before her. The pony in front of her said nothing and made no movement. Black tendrils tightly wrapped around her, preventing her from moving forward, until she was pulled away by the tendrils, watching the rift slowly repair as the surrounding space converged. The hope in the unicorn's heart was gradually taken away. She coughed up blood and fell to the ground, but got up again. The purple lightning from her horn staining the sky a sickly indigo. Blood dripped down her cheeks, yet she stubbornly held her body upright. "Please, just let me see you for 1 second. I know you're watching." Her horns surged with magic again, this time not towards the healing crack in space, but towards her own wings. The sound of flesh tearing echoed, yet there was no change in the unicorn's expression. Not even a sound. Her pupils filled with blood vessels, revealing fatigue and pain. "Come out." The unicorn pulled at her mane, her broken wings dragging on the ground, the pain exploding like an electric web at the nerve endings, yet she smiled in satisfaction. The next second, her previously battered body began to recover. The unicorn embraced the air in front of her. Even though it was empty, she had already sketched his appearance in her mind, conjuring his form with magic. "Found you." The unicorn's lips curled into a happy smile, as if embracing a world. Rain poured down without warning, and countless past shadows in her mind organized her bookshelf, bandaged her wounds, and taught her clumsy dance steps under the starry sky. Each illusion smiled at her before dissipating. Looking at the unicorn that merged with her, the helmeted pony lowered his head, seemingly shaken, but quickly regained his resolve. The flood of disaster would consume everything, and even he could not escape. But at least he wanted to create a perfect ending without regrets for her. Before that, he could not be observed by any creature in this world. No. The unicorn reached out her hooves, wanting to grasp the starlight in front of her, but all was in vain, ultimately turning to nothing. The unicorn's emotions instantly collapsed, falling to the ground like a helpless child, sobbing loudly. After a long time, the unicorn slowly got up from the ground, her eyelashes suddenly trembling, like a dying black butterfly flapping its wings, revealing 2 murky glass beads underneath. Eyes soaked in tears countless times, with irises faded to a misty gray blue, edged with a purplish red like veins. "You know, every second you leave me feels like you're slicing my soul into pieces. You can't escape. My love is harder to break free from than a black hole." Her pupils dilated abnormally, like a grave opened at midnight, devouring all light. But when you gaze into this dry well, you will find phosphorescence dancing in the depths, capillaries woven into a scarlet web, spreading cracks on the sclera, each blood vessel spasming beneath the skin, like a venomous snake trapped under ice, wildly writhing. Don't be afraid, even if you become a corpse. I will cook meals for you every day and have breakfast together. Her eyelids twitched nervously, casting spider leg-like shadows on her cheekbones with her eyelashes. At this moment, her pupils contracted to pinpoints, yet in the next second, they scattered again, like a broken projector stuttering between normal and madness. Our ending will either rot together in the grave or be forever by my side. I will remember every detail of your breathing rhythm, the direction of your steps, and even the number of times your eyelashes flutter. So, don't dream of escaping my sight. I will find you. At any cost, I will find you. We will be together forever. The pathological unicorn raises its head, and the crazy laughter echoes through the clouds. The loss of friends. The division of the 3 clans of ponies. The cosmic princess is nowhere to be found. He was the last thread holding her sanity, and at this moment, it completely snapped. When the disorderly one arrived at this dilapidated graveyard with a basket of afternoon tea, he only saw a purple figure curled up amid the chaos. Ziyue hummed the lullaby composed by her lover long ago, the ending note trembling with a nervous quiver, lost in thought. The disorderly one sighed softly, snapped his fingers to repair everything damaged around the graveyard, and, holding the flower basket, approached the gravestone marked with a butterfly imprint. He skillfully spread out the carpet, arranged the tea set, and began this afternoon tea. Chapter 11 Helmet Pony. Good job. Ah, lost again. The disorderly one slumped in midair, his emotions appearing somewhat calm. I told you not to just focus on resources like Ultraman and Godzilla. You should know that here, the better the special effects, the higher the prestige, and the stronger the enhancement. At this time, Helmet Pony also leaned over, resting his hoof on the disorderly one as if to comfort him, saying, "Oh, who is this?" He leaned in front of Shihue Nuan, casting a meaningful glance at him. "This is..." The disorderly one raised his head and glanced at Shihue Nuan. "Who is he?" "Oh, right, he's the one I brought. I forgot about him because I was too immersed in the game." "He's your son?" Helmet Pony teased. "Huh." The disorderly one and Shihue Nuan looked at him with some dissatisfaction, but Helmet Pony seemed oblivious and continued. "He looks young, a newly born chaotic creature." "No, it seems the chaotic magic is suppressing something." "Lick." "Oh, what are you doing?" Helmet Pony suddenly pulled up a part of his mask and directly licked Shihue Nuan in front of the disorderly one. This startled the disorderly one, making him shudder in disgust. Helmet Pony smacked his lips and turned to the disorderly one, who had moved a bit further away, saying, "He smells like you." Noticing that the disorderly one ignored him and even shivered in fright, Helmet Pony felt bored and pondered again. Then he stopped thinking. "Haha, look how much he resembles me. He must be my grandson." Helmet Pony wrapped his hoof around Shihue Nuan and said proudly, "Get lost, I am your father." The disorderly one stood up to retort. "You were just a baby back then. I was the one who raised you from diapers." "Huh, you dare say that? With your cooking skills like a gacha game. Thanks to you, I have tasted all sorts of strange things in the world." "No problem. The reason you can live so fiercely now is thanks to your guardian." "Which is me." Helmet Pony patted his chest with his hoof, as if waiting for the disorderly one's gratitude. Chaotic creature profanity. "Thank you. No need to thank me. This is what I should do as your father." "You bastard, you, Pony Maria profanity, Harry Potter profanity, Tevat profanity." "Huh, you heartless one, you, chaotic creature profanity, 3-body profanity, Cthulhu profanity, flower." The disorderly one exclaimed and began to wrestle with Helmet Pony. The pony fell to the ground, making sounds that were meaningless cries, strange calls, and the sound of his body wriggling on the ground. "You actually used such malicious profanity against me. I, disorderly, was your brother, and you treated me like this. What are you talking about? Brothers are meant to mess with each other. Back then, when I brought you food to Friendship Academy, you actually had the security stop me outside. Can you even call that food? The power of that long worm saliva is not as terrifying as your cooking. If I let you in, wouldn't it cause a biohazard?" The disorderly one nearly pressed his face against Helmet Pony's mask, radiating an aura that suggested he was about to explode, which made Helmet Pony soften. "Is it really that terrifying? I remember I had a few times when I made something tasty." "Yeah, you had to eat that weird-tasting food at least 90 times. As difficult as pulling a gold card in a gacha game. If you don't believe me, let that pony try it." "Why did he reset?" Helmet Pony asked, looking puzzled at Shihue Nuan. "What do you think? Not every creature can understand Cthulhu's language, let alone that he's just a cub." "Oh, I see," Helmet Pony said, patting his hoof. The disorderly one slapped Helmet Pony and said, "So that's your head. If you don't knock him out soon, he'll go completely insane." Just as the disorderly one was about to step forward, he was pulled back by Helmet Pony. "What are you doing?" "Wait, let's see. I'm curious about what he'll do." Helmet Pony, who had somehow gotten a bucket of popcorn and was sitting in a sun chair, handed a drink to the disorderly one. But what? Looking at him like that, he probably won't completely go insane for another hour. We can watch for 59 minutes and 59 seconds before knocking him out. Yeah, you're right. The disorderly one hesitated for 3 seconds before accepting the drink and sitting next to Helmet Pony. Haha. It took you half a lifetime to make the famous Chaos King hesitate for 3,016 seconds. That's impressive. The disorderly one rolled his eyes and said, "Come on. It won't cost me anything to watch. You know, being a chaotic creature is very boring. I hate this ageless body every moment." "How many times is this for you?" Helmet Pony suddenly asked. "I don't know. I can't count anymore." "Don't you find it boring?" "Not really." "Oh, look, he's doing a somersault. Wow. A split in midair, 5 minutes later. Impressive. Armstrong spiral jet Armstrong drilling the ground. 20 minutes later. Hee, the world is fake. We are all fake. Shihue shouted at the sky. He finally took his first step as a chaotic creature. Helmet Pony pulled out a piece of wood from the wooden leg of a nearby Koemu wolf and began chewing on it. "Of course. We all know we are anime characters." The disorderly one chimed in while wiping the photo frame in his hand. 40 minutes later. "Grandma, I can't tell. I really can't tell." Shihue clutched his head with both hooves, his face pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The splitting headache felt almost unbearable, as if a sharp knife was stirring in his head. He shut his eyes tightly, trying to ease the pain. But each breath brought a stronger sting. His body trembled involuntarily, emitting low groans. "Have we gone a bit too far?" Helmet Pony touched his neck, feeling somewhat self-doubtful. "Should be, right?" The two guys saw Shihue place his hooves on his belly. Rip. Oh no, he tore off his belly. Intestines. The intestines are coming out. Goodness, lungs, kidneys, liver, spleen, and even the heart. All the organs are out. Oh damn it. Hurry and knock him out. If this goes on, he might kill himself before he goes completely insane. Oh, okay. Helmet Pony's back suddenly bulged, as if something was pushing out from inside. With a creak, a branch pierced out from his back, directly swinging towards Shihue. Chapter 12 Happy New Year. Shihue slowly opened his eyes. Realizing he was covered with a blanket and lying in bed, he sat up and looked around, finding himself in a small house full of life, consisting of one room, one bathroom, and one kitchen. Though small, it was fully equipped. Various photos were displayed on the bedside table and desk, including ones of the disorderly one and Helmet Pony, as well as 6 other ponies of different colors, and female chaotic creatures that looked like stitched monsters, just like the disorderly one. In every photo, the disorderly one wore a heartfelt smile, and next to the wardrobe lay a white dress made of tulle that Shihue had never seen before. On the wall hung a pink gemstone shaped like a butterfly, spotless and seemingly well-maintained. Creaking, Shihue pushed the door open, and what came into view was Wusu slumped in a white plastic chair, his back to her, with an empty plastic chair beside him, which might have belonged to Helmet Pony, but it seemed he had already left. Shihue didn't think too much about it, and walked over, climbing onto the plastic chair that belonged to Helmet Pony, just as she noticed Wusu was holding a picture frame. It was a photo of him hugging a little pony with yellow skin and pink mane, both of them smiling happily. "You're awake." Wusu covered the frame with his arms and turned to look at Shihue. Shihue nodded, about to speak when Wusu interrupted her. Wusu propped himself up, and a notepad appeared in his hand, on which he was writing something. "Do you recognize me?" Shihue asked uncertainly. "I don't know, but you do give me a good feeling." Wusu raised his head, not letting Shihue see the inexplicably guilty look in his eyes. He couldn't possibly say that they found it quite enjoyable to watch Shihue go crazy, which led to her heart-wrenching outpouring. Could he? The old man had tossed him a line about compensation and then said he had to go fix some mess before running off. TCH, how disrespectful. All right, stop making a long face. Since we're waiting anyway, why not go out for a stroll together? With that, Wusu took Shihue by one hand and tore open a rift in the air with the other. "Wait, I don't need. It's useless to say anything, just go in." He then tossed Shihue through the rift and followed closely behind. In the human world, a rift suddenly tore open in the air, and a white-skinned girl flew out from the space fissure. She landed like a rubber person, getting squashed on the ground before quickly bouncing back up, rolling a few times in the air before finally coming to a stop. Wow, there are so many stars. At this moment, Su also stepped out from the rift behind her, wearing a brown suit with a light blue tie. His slicked-back black hair showing some gray at the temples, and his long white beard gave him a scholarly rogue appearance. Oh, no wonder you're a chaotic being. If I hadn't already confirmed your gender, I really wouldn't have been able to tell. Su squatted down, looking at Shi Huan with interest. What? Shi Huan covered her head with her hands, looking at Su in confusion. Wait, my hooves. The scream attracted the attention of people nearby, who then saw a seemingly unkind uncle standing in front of the delicate-looking youth. He looks like he is abducting children. Some people had already called the police. Hey, what's the number for 911? Are you serious? You're asking me what the number for 911 is? Huh, you don't know? 911. Yeah. So what's the number for 911? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Seeing the increasingly chaotic scene around them, Su also noticed the change and pulled Shi Huan to run deeper into the jungle. TCH, causing chaos right after arriving. In a way, you're a genius. Su patted his suit, feeling helpless. You shouldn't be afraid of trouble, right? Shi Huan looked at the dissipating crowd and crawled out of the woods. The pony world is my domain. That's where we originally came from. But this is the human world. This is Order's territory. Order? Yes, everything in the world has its opposite. Where there is chaos, there is order. As long as the conditions are sufficient, I could even become order myself. Enough talk. I know a good place. Let us go. Looking at Shi Huan's pure eyes, Su knew explanations were futile, and he pulled Shi Huan along as they walked out. Milk tea shop. The server at the window looked speechless at the sight of the large and small figure in front of her. Su was squatting on the ground, drinking the cheapest milk tea, looking up at the television playing the last episode of Ultraman Tiga at the entrance of the shop. Shi Huan was kneeling beside the milk tea shop counter, staring blankly at her reflection in the glass. A human? The current me without scales and a lioness tail, just like other ponies. No, like other people. Pink long hair with black tips. If it weren't for the mismatched strange hoodie that looked like it was sewn from different fabrics, and confirming that important parts were still intact, one might really think this was a cute girl. Go for it. Tiga, defeat Gitanja. Su shouted, his voice so loud that it earned him displeased glances from children who liked Tiga around him. What are you looking at? Right now? You're giving all the light to Tiga, but what about your future? It's all dark. He spoke as if he had been through it all. Even the adults accompanying the children couldn't help but glance over, feeling like he was making some sense. What on earth are you talking about? A child in the crowd asked, dissatisfied. What's wrong? Tiga defeated Gitanja, but what about us? We have to bear the damages brought by the battle ourselves. Exploitation, oppression, still lingering in this world like a parasite. Traitors judged by the will of the people. They must be ruthlessly eliminated. Let the bourgeoisie go crazy. Let the worthless souls weep. The adults couldn't help but stop in their tracks, standing still, seriously listening to Su's speech. Whoosh. Tiga activated his shining form, and the powerful golden beam destroyed Gitanja. Even if Gitanja falls, we are still here. A flash of purple light flickered in Su's hand, and he continued his passionate speech. Perhaps hope, dreams, and the dim future will lose to that shining reality. But, even if the decaying society, wrapped in the stench of death, has changed its skin, the old society still exists. Death does not belong to the working class. But death has no power over those who oppose the working class. All proletarians, unite. We unite. We unite. Shi Huan and the other children were dumbfounded. While the adults accompanying the children seemed to have been brainwashed at some point, their eyes glazed over, fervently praising socialism, dedicated to overthrowing capitalism. Taking advantage of the chaotic scene, Su quietly led Shi Huan away by her hood. Hey, didn't you say to be careful? Shi Huan looked up at Su, who was casually sipping high-end milk tea. Huh, are you saying that as the king of chaos? I can't create chaos. That's as ridiculous as making a white cop choose between a criminal and a black person. But that guy from Order can't possibly watch me all the time, and besides, this was bound to happen sooner or later. I just sped it up a bit, and once the time is up, the victims can go about their business. It won't have any impact. Any problems with that? Why do criminals and black people know? You don't need to know too much. And Shihui, what are you doing here? A cold female voice came from behind them. Su and Shi Huan turned around to see a girl in a purple-lined black jacket, ripped black jeans, and long purple-patterned boots, along with red and bright yellow hair, giving off a delinquent vibe. Oh, isn't this the student who ran away from Cosmic Princess? Su raised an eyebrow, giving Shi Huan a knowing look. Hey kid, when did you get involved with her? Cosmic Princess? Who are you? Hui Shua took a step back, nervously looking at the two in front of her. Celestia. Oh, sorry. The originally serious atmosphere dissipated somewhat, and Yu Huishua found it a bit funny. People can indeed be amusing when they're speechless. It seems that there are some common topics between you. Wushu stroked his white beard, revealing a meaningful smile, and then directly threw Shihuan Wan towards Yu Huishua. Ah, ouch. The two collided, and Yu Huishua held her reddened forehead, curled up on the ground. I'm sorry, Wushu. Yu Huishua pressed on the bump on her forehead, sitting on a bench with Shihuan Wan. So that's Wushu. Yu Huishua glanced at Shihuan Wan, who was hugging her knees and shivering while nodding frantically, and felt it was somewhat absurd. She had thought about her teacher Celestia coming through the world to catch her. But why would the chaotic king be the one to arrive in this world first? Moreover, it seemed he could use magic. Luckily, he had no interest in her, otherwise. Yu Huishua couldn't help but imagine herself dressed as a clown, dancing on the steps to amuse the audience below. It would be better to let her die than to embarrass herself like that. Alright, enough about Wushu. That guy can be left for the old man to worry about. The key question is why her counterpart, Shihuan Wan, from her world would be with Wushu. Shouldn't he be staying in the old man's old castle? This is a monster that can endanger little pony Maria. If she could subdue him now, then in Celestia's absence of the source of harmony, wouldn't she be able to conquer the little pony kingdom? Thinking of this, Yu Huishua couldn't help but straighten her back, turn her head, and show her malicious smile without any concealment. Aye. Shihuan Wan wanted to say something, but upon seeing the familiar expression on Yu Huishua's face, her initial fear calmed down in an instant. Kill her, burn her, destroy her. She is Celestia's student. So, she silently buried her head in her knees, not allowing Yu Huishua to see her expression, using her body to block the flames that had already gathered in her hand. Kill. Soon. The pain would only last for a moment, and the lone unicorn would accompany her. Just then, a cold voice interrupted the two's thoughts from directly in front of them. Shihuan Wan instinctively dispersed the flames in her hand, allowing Yu Huishua to escape a disaster. Yu Hui, how did you end up here? The coffee I asked you to buy. Yu Huishua trembled like a mouse hearing a cat's call, and Shihuan Wan also raised her head following the voice. There stood a person who looked exactly like her, but compared to her, he seemed to be a whole head shorter, with hair that looked like a bird's nest. Under the black-framed glasses were heavy dark circles and a pair of orange eyes with blood vessels, and his ghostly pale skin seemed like it could change to match his skin at any moment. The most outrageous part was his ill-fitting white lab coat, with his entire hand hidden in the oversized sleeves, and the part that should have dragged down was stubbornly defying Newton's law, standing firmly in the air. Seeing Shihuan Wan's face, the person's originally cold expression melted away, revealing a grin that looked somewhat sinister. Interesting. Chapter 13. It's all Celestia's fault. Yu Huishua, the cosmic princess Celestia's student, a top student at the magic school. As a genius. Ever since she saw herself as a powerful alicorn capable of ruling the little pony kingdom in the magic mirror, she has firmly believed she is the answer to the future of little pony Maria. Celestia concealed the magic for transforming into an alicorn from her. And when Yu Huishua discovered it, Celestia not only refused to let her transform into an alicorn, but also revoked her student status and made her leave the castle of Central City. Why hide it when she could do it? She was clearly jealous of my talent, wary of my future, and afraid I would affect her rule, which is why she did this. That's right. It must be. Asking me to make friends was to leave me with a weak spot for control. Hiding magic from me was to limit me. I could have done better. Celestia, I'm going to knock out your teeth. Just like that, Yu Huishua, easily defeated the guards who came to escort her away and escaped to the human world through the crystal magic mirror. Humans, welcome your new king. Then, this plot development is really interesting. In front of Cantalot High School, in a clearing in front of a sculpture named the Galloping Team, Tomato's scrambled eggs looked at the hard object pressed against her head, lamenting the unpredictability of life. She raised her hand. Although she didn't know what the thing on her forehead was, her intuition told her it was best not to move. Smith Wesson 1917, 1,143 mm caliber, 270 mm, 102 kilograms. 6-round magazine capacity, the most common 0.45-inch automatic pistol ammunition. Don't move. With its muzzle velocity of 250 meters per second, it could kill you in an instant. A cold voice came from in front of Yu Huishua. When Yu Hui completely adapted to the discomfort caused by the crossing, she finally saw the person clearly. It was a cute boy, wearing a white lab coat and black-framed glasses. Upon seeing him for the first time, Yu Huishua's first reaction was, so short. Indeed, the boy had deliberately stood on a stool just to press the gun against his forehead. Without that stool, he would only reach her chest, a whole head and a half shorter. Such a huge contrast made Yuhui Shua find the boy somewhat cute. Looking at the boy's poker face, she thought it was a deliberate attempt to maintain the little dignity he had. All right, little brother, it's so late. Don't be out here making your parents worry. Yuhui Shua teased. Hearing Yuhui Shua's voice, the boy was first taken aback. Then he began to mutter in front of Yuhui Shua. Common language? Parallel world? Disguise? Doesn't seem like it. Body structure seems similar to humans. Watching the boy fall into a certain state, Yuhui Shua slowly moved her hands forward a bit, seeing the boy still immersed in his self-reflection. Yuhui Shua had a rough plan for the situation in front of her. It seems you're very interested in me. Is there something you want from me? The boy lifted his head, clearly having successfully attracted Yuhui Shua's attention. Seeing the prey take the bait, Yuhui Shua pressed her lips together. Suppressing her smile, let me guess, money, beauty, honor, or magic? The boy's pupils contracted, and in the moment he was lost in thought. Yuhui Shua had already grabbed his gun hand with both hands, twisting her body to dodge the dark gun barrel. She kicked the stool under the boy, and the boy showed no expression as he fell to the ground, his face blank as he landed in Yuhui Shua's line of sight. Yuhui Shua raised the gun she had snatched, mimicking the boy's earlier stance, pointing the gun at the boy lying on the ground, and said, "The offense and defense have changed, little guy. Now I'm the boss." The boy's expression remained unchanged, and in front of Yuhui Shua, he raised his left hand. Snap! The sound of a finger snap echoed, accompanied by a sound from the gun in Yuhui Shua's hand resembling a transforming Autobot. Before she could react, the gun had transformed into handcuffs, firmly locking her hands together. You really didn't think I would so easily put myself in danger, did you? The boy slowly sat up, brushing off the dust from his clothes. I'm only 10 years old this year. Even with a gun, I might not be able to take down an unknown creature from another world. Saying this, the boy stood up and approached Yuhui Shua with a chilling smile. Seeing the boy exuding a terrifying aura in front of her, Yuhui Shua took a step back in fear. Snap! The afterglow stepped onto the mechanical device placed directly beneath the statue's pedestal. When she first crossed over, she had unknowingly stepped over the device without noticing it at all. The mechanical device was triggered, quickly expanding and contracting, firmly locking her right leg in place. The process happened too fast for her to react, and she lost her balance. Sitting directly on the ground, she looked up in terror at the boy who had walked up to her. His previously handsome face now stretching into a grin that seemed to reach his ears, his bloodshot eyes staring straight at her. Having been protected by Celestia, the afterglow had never seen such a scene. With no means of offense or escape, she had almost no chance of resistance. All the boy needed to do was slowly wear her down, and she would be like a fish on a chopping board, ready to be slaughtered. She was frightened and closed her eyes, feeling the boy's fingers lift her chin, their foreheads touching, as his youthful voice reached her ears. The afterglow opened her eyes, looking at the boy before her with a mix of shame and anger. At that moment, there was an unusual glimmer of cunning in his eyes, as if he was flaunting his success to her. Just then, the boy leaned in closer, his face mere inches from hers. He was breathing heavily, his flushed face dotted with beads of sweat, and his excitement made it hard for him to control his expressions. As the afterglow sensed everything, she could clearly feel their warm breaths mingling, and an unfamiliar sensation washed over her body, especially near her ears. It felt as if a slight electric current had passed through, causing an indescribable tingling. This close contact and the subtle sounds by her ears made her heart race uncontrollably, her cheeks quickly flushing like ripe apples, blooming like peach blossoms in spring. I hope you can satisfy my appetite, big sister. The boy's words struck the afterglow's heart like a bolt of lightning, making her already racing heart gallop even faster. Having never communicated so closely and vividly with someone of the opposite sex, she felt a strange but intense emotion swell within her. This feeling was entirely new to her, like a treasure chest that had never been opened suddenly laid before her, filled with countless unknown surprises and expectations. The scene felt somewhat familiar. She seemed to have seen something like it in the books hidden under the bed of the Cosmic Princess. Recalling the contents of the books, her cheeks began to redden further, spreading like steam from a boiling kettle, and her gaze became a bit dazed, as if lost in a fog, unable to find her way out. Finally, under the boy's speechless gaze, this otherworldly tomato scrambled to make a decision. Tightly closing her eyes and lifting her head towards him with a mix of fear and anticipation for the future. Does this guy have a screw loose? She had asked all night about the theoretical framework of magic. So what was I thinking back then? Celestia. If it weren't for those forbidden books she hid under the bed, I wouldn't have embarrassed myself so badly. Yeah, it's all Celestia's fault. Chapter 14. Unable to study anymore, so I came back to write. In the human Shihue family, in the yard by the treehouse. Is this enough? Shihue Nwan looked at the test tube in the human Shihue's hand. The human Shihue shook the blood in the test tube and then poured it into a small opening on the operating table. Detecting unregistered blood. Beginning analysis. 101. Watching the data slowly load on the screen, the human Shihue couldn't help but frown. What's wrong? The afterglow noticed the boy's expression. It was supposed to analyze first and then compare it with the gene bank. There's no reason for the progress to be so slow. The human Shihue casually browsed through some data that the afterglow and Shihue Nwan couldn't understand on the operating table. Even though there weren't corresponding parallel isotopes in this world, there were similar ones. The human Shihue pondered for a moment, then suddenly turned to the two behind him and said, Afterglow, the analysis still needs quite a bit of time. You take that little Maria of mine out to adapt to human life. I have some things to take care of here. Huh, why? You can teach him to walk first. The human Shihue waved his hand, generously pulling out two $100 bills from the wide sleeves of his lab coat and handing them to the afterglow. Here, take it to play with. You can keep the rest. Cut it out. Who cares about your little money? The afterglow scoffed, turning away and skillfully pocketing the $200 bills from the human Shihue's hand. Let's go. In a good mood after getting pocket money, the afterglow wrapped her arm around Shihue Nwan's neck and jumped out of the treehouse in one leap. Woohoo! Wait, don't just jump down. The afterglow leaped directly from the treehouse without any hindrance and landed easily. So, the senior sister can slap down anyone except for those like Riza who are immune to physical attacks and can directly kill them, and Youngbo can only crush them into diamond shards, while the senior sister can crush them whole. Jumping off a tree is quite normal. Right. Shihue Nwan, hanging half a head below the ground due to the height difference, was just hanging on the afterglow's arm, his mouth spilling out a little soul with an angel halo, slowly ascending. My life is full of regrets. The afterglow glanced at him, grabbed him, and instantly unleashed a powerful impact that shoved him back into Shihue Nwan's mouth. It seemed as if the startup sound echoed in Shihue Nwan's ears, and he came back to life. I saw that unicorn yelling in the river. Dante come near my teeth, as it paddled frantically towards the shore. Shihue Nwan covered his head, unaccustomed as he took steps. All right, a new game has come out in the arcade recently. Sister will take you to play video games today. The afterglow excitedly pulled Shihue Nwan towards the arcade. The strong force made Shihue Nwan feel like a kite being lifted into the air. The human Shihue watched the afterglow with her physical abilities that were not human-like, adjusted his glasses, and said, Your physical condition seems to have weakened quite a bit since the initial tests. Is the world starting to correct itself? When the afterglow first arrived in the human world, she couldn't use her full strength due to not having adapted to her body. It was known that in her prime, she could wrestle with a hydraulic machine. Now, her physical condition had started to decline. Looking at the screen displaying 333, currently searching for similar types in the gene bank. 22, the human Shihue turned around and silently prepared himself a cup of coffee. The world's self-correction, the afterglow, Beaky, Little Maria's magic is getting more and more interesting. Slurp ugh, so bad, the human Shihue said, taking a pile of sugar cubes from the drawer and tossing them into the coffee cup without looking. The cup was immediately filled, and Shihue Nwan didn't forget to grab the top sugar cube and pop it into his mouth. The human Shihue stirred the cup of syrup with a little coffee and took a small sip. Hiss. Indeed, sugar is the driving force behind human progress. I can't play this. Shihue Nwan was stepping on the directional keys on the dancing machine, clearly not coordinated enough to adapt. It's okay. I went through this too. The afterglow was by Shihue Nwan's side, showcasing her coordinated and agile dance moves, obviously showing off. All right, you practice slowly. I'm going to wander around. After saying that, the afterglow dropped a basket of game coins and left. Oh, okay. Shihue Nwan didn't say anything, just inserted another coin, stood on the dance machine, and continued to step on the directional keys according to the music and the instructions on the screen. The melodious sound of the piano began to play, accompanied by a soft female voice. Single quote, I really love this song. As the piano sound faded away, followed by the sound of a maraca and electric guitar, the music style switched rapidly like lightning, sometimes passionate and fervent, sometimes melodious and soothing. Shihue Nwan's originally somewhat clumsy steps gradually became light and agile under the guidance of this wonderful melody. The body that once seemed to have some gaps between consciousness now appeared to be completely integrated with the soul, tightly connected and responding to each other. At that moment, 6 completely different, yet harmoniously resonating voices intertwined, like a heavenly sound, starting a heart-shattering grand chorus that pushed the entire song to its climax. Meanwhile, the screen flickered, clearly displaying his second ranking. Wow, you're really amazing, Nuanyuan. A cheerful voice accompanied by applause sounded from behind Shihue Nuanyuan. He turned around to see a girl with fluffy pink hair like cotton candy, grinning and waving at him. Do you know me? Yes. I've never seen such a Shihue Nuanyuan before. The fluffy girl curiously looked left and right, as if she had discovered something extraordinary. Oh right. I haven't introduced myself to Nuanyuan yet. Biki stepped aside, out of Shihue Nuanyuan's line of sight, and then suddenly popped up from below his perspective, grabbing Shihue Nuanyuan's hand and shaking it. Ah, hello. I'm Biki. That ranking you see is me, pointing at the screen of the dance machine. Shihue Nuanyuan followed her finger to see the big name Biki, Pinkamena Diane Pi marked in golden letters. Amazing. Shihue Nuanyuan couldn't help but exclaim. Wait, how did you do that? Shihue Nuanyuan cautiously glanced at her, realizing that the moment she stepped back, his perception of Biki completely vanished. It was as if she didn't exist in this world at all, and then she popped back up from below his line of sight. What? Oh, I told you before, but it's okay to repeat it. It's very simple, just like a quantum ghost in a quantum state. When observed, it collapses into a normal state. And when a higher dimensional observer disappears, it becomes a quantum state, with a probability cloud filling the entire Earth, capable of appearing anywhere at any time. What? Well, just because Shihue can understand doesn't mean Nuanyuan can understand. Did you understand? Got it. Shihue Nuanyuan looked at Biki, who had somehow taken out a toy stage, with several gloved little figures, vividly explaining it to him. So where do those other 4 hands come from? The problem was solved, but a new question arose. This girl can't also be a chaotic being, right? Chapter 15. The final exam is almost over. How did everyone do? Anyway, I'm done. Is there anyone else who wants to tell a story? So you're saying this is a parallel world. Canterlot is the capital of Ponyville. And here there's a school where everyone has a corresponding pony? In this world, I am currently suspended from school because I blew it up. The Moon Princess was exiled to the moon by the Cosmic Princess. The principal and vice principal, who are fighting over family inheritance, even temporarily joined forces to deal with me. I'm currently settled down, but Vice Principal Luna lost the inheritance and is going to take the astronaut exam to prepare for a moon landing. Celestia, tired of the inheritance struggle, threw that mouthful name Amarcadantia to inherit, and as a result, Amarcadantia, like a little brat, ran away, forcing her to accept the inheritance? What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Is any of this true? Shihue Nuanyuan covered his chin, looking at the old man on the subway with a phone. MHM. Biki kept nodding. Where did you learn that? MHM. Biki touched her chin, thought for a moment, then counted on her fingers. Biki, Pinkamena Pi, and Biki? 7, 11, 16. Oh, thanks. Watching several hands that extended from behind Biki helping her count, Shihue Nuanyuan couldn't help but feel goosebumps. At that moment, a paper ball hit the back of Shihue Nuanyuan's head. He turned around to see the human Shihue hiding behind a tree, waving at him. Seeing Biki still counting, Shihue Nuanyuan turned and walked towards human Shihue. What's wrong? Just as Shihue Nuanyuan was about to ask, human Shihue urgently pulled him behind the big tree. How did you encounter that guy? Shihue Nuanyuan looked at the human Shihue curiously. The calm demeanor from before had completely vanished, replaced by a panicked look like a mouse encountering a cat. What's wrong with Biki? What's wrong? You asked me what's wrong. The panic on human Shihue's face, combined with his bloodshot eyes and messy hair. He pulled his face down with both hands, letting out a shriek, giving off a vibe like a princess having a meltdown. Human Shihue grabbed Shihue Nuanyuan's arm, shouting, "You have no idea about that unreasonable thing. Even magic has its rules. It even has similarities with science. But Biki is simply the system that the creator forgot. Whether it's that damn Biki's premonition or that strange stuff. No, there are no rules at all. It's incomprehensible. You don't understand the fear of the unknown. And it's coming again." Human Shihue clutched his arms, trembling uncontrollably. She's coming, that woman. Run, hurry up and leave this place of trouble. But just as he turned around, where are you going? Biki stood in front of human Shihue without him noticing, hands clasped behind her back, smiling at him. Quack. Human Shihue, startled like a cat seeing a cucumber, jumped into Shihue Nuanyuan's arms. I made an appointment with Somalia to go to Cairo. The scene before human Shihue twisted, as if what happened yesterday was replaying. The once fluffy pink hair became smooth, hanging down to cover half her face. Looking somewhat gloomy, she raised the kitchen knife in front of her. Bloodlight radiated from her pupils. Her pink fingertips brushed against the knife tip until it broke the skin. Blood flowed down her fingers, staining the entire kitchen knife. With her mouth wide open in a sickly smile, the girl at this moment revealed a morbid grin, saying softly, "Let's play together, welcome to my party." Shihue Nuanyuan would never forget how the girl played games with him while dismembering his body without killing him. When he had his limbs removed and watched the girl turn his body parts into cupcakes, Biki fed him, "You take a bite, I take a bite." Like an intimate couple, finishing off that delicious cake. Then it was the belly, then the intestines, liver, heart, and finally, a single eyeball as the perfect decoration. A delicious party cake, and quack. I don't want to see. I don't want to see this horrific scene. Hua. I don't want to look. Crack. Rip. Human Shihui lost his sanity and actually dug out his own eyeball with his hand. The wires pulled out by the eyeball extended deep into the eye socket, holding the eyeball suspended in midair. Looking directly at the face of adult human Shihui. Shihui Wanwan's brain crashed on the spot. He still wanted to say something, but unexpectedly, the originally screaming human Shihui suddenly stopped screaming. Much better. Human Shihui blinked to confirm that there was no damage to the visual module, then turned to Baichi beside him and said, "I apologize for my rude behavior." Baichi. His voice carried no emotion, merely stating a fact. "Oh, it's fine, Shihui. We both have our faults." Baichi smiled, took out a party hat from behind, and placed it on human Shihui's head, asking, "When will you come over to have a party together?" "Next time. You just happen to be preparing for the next one. I have something to attend to now, so I'm leaving." Human Shihui waved goodbye to Baichi while pulling Shihui Wan along and left. "Did something happen between you two?" Even a fool can see what happened, so what exactly happened? I'm a bit curious, but would it be impolite to ask directly? "Your blood test results have come out." Human Shihui simply said, leading Shihui Wan to the big tree in the yard. One hand already climbed up the ladder. He turned to Shihui Wan and said, "I must say, your results are quite astonishing." "What do you mean?" Shihui Wan wanted to ask further. But human Shihui had already climbed up to the treehouse, and he hurried to follow, afraid of missing any information. As soon as he climbed into the treehouse, a stack of neatly organized forms was placed right in front of Shihui Wan. The first page was filled with a bunch of names. "What are these?" Shihui Wan looked at the forms, feeling dizzy from the mosaic of names. People who are genetically related to you, or rather, you are actually them? Through comparison, you are them, and they are you. A total of 662 people who are similar to you. Your existence is constantly changing, endlessly, and incredibly chaotic. Human Shihui poured himself a cup of coffee, drinking it straight without any sugar. Shihui Wan felt a bit down, unable to understand. "Don't mind it. I'm also studying. If I hadn't encountered Baichi before, I might have been eager to lock you up for research." Human Shihui glanced at the blood samples still left on the table. Shihui Wan, feeling a bit embarrassed, rubbed his arms and turned his head aside, asking, "What is it?" Chapter 16, Stinky Old Woman. It is the substance in our bodies that determines genetic traits. Although we cannot see it, it indeed exists. Just like a recipe, based on the recipe, we can make a dish, which records the key information of that dish. Similarly, it records the information of our genetic traits. Different recipes correspond to different dishes, so different ones correspond to different genetic traits. Your traits have a randomness. They are constantly experiencing rapid births and deaths, then giving rise to entirely different genetic traits. Still wearing the party hat, human Shihui pointed at the double helix structure diagram on the blackboard with a small stick, pondering how to explain it to Shihui Wan. He really didn't expect that his little Maria's self was actually illiterate. "Oh, by the way, those names on the list are just people who can match with you. After continuous filtering, there have actually been a total of 666 traits appearing on you. These things that are almost impossible to occur have appeared on you. Even magic must adhere to certain scientific principles, coupled with the chaotic king who came with you before. I suspect that you may have that kind of chaotic magic maintaining this inexplicable operation of your body, or perhaps you are a chaotic being. No, the reference objects are still too few. If I could study the body of that chaotic king, perhaps I could." The originally indifferent human Shihui suddenly seemed to think of something, gradually grinning widely, revealing a mischievous smile, as if plotting something significant. Seeing human Shihui surrounded by black mist, Shihui Wan felt the need to remind him to calm down, but at that moment, a familiar yet unfamiliar aura outside the house made Shihui Wan freeze. What's wrong? Human Shihui looked at Shihui Wan, whose pupils were trembling, feeling inexplicably uneasy. "Grandma, I sense Grandma's presence outside the door." Human Shihui quickly pulled up the surveillance at his home's entrance. And sure enough, a tall, athletic-looking old lady was standing at the door, appearing more energetic than the young people despite being elderly. Maru, human Shihui clutched his head, realizing he had forgotten that the old lady was coming today while busy researching blood. I'm going to be scolded for looking so disheveled. What to do? What to do? Unless... Human Shihui suddenly turned to Shihui Wan, and a plan came to mind. Human Shihui pulled out an invisible earpiece from behind and stuffed it into Shihui Wan's ear, hurriedly pushing him and saying, "Please, just deal with my grandma, and I'll do anything afterward." "Wait, that's not mine. Anyway, your grandma already called. What are you afraid of? When the old lady gets angry. It's deadly, please. This is my lifelong request." Human Shihui clasped his hands together, raising them above his head, hoping for help. "All right." Shihui Wan hesitated for a moment, and the next second he nodded in agreement and was directly pushed out of the treehouse. What are you doing? Sorry, I've seen your physical fitness. At this height, at most, you'll bump into a telephone pole while walking around. So hurry up and open the door, or the old lady will blow up." Human Shihui pointed at the house and said, "You guy fine. By the way, remember to touch your head." With that, Shihui Wan turned and ran toward the house. "Head? What is that?" Human Shihui touched something pointy on his head, and when he took it off, it was by Cheese Party hat. Human Shihui's face suddenly turned pale, letting out an indescribable shriek. Quack. Ding dong. Ding dong. Ding dong. Bang bang. After the doorbell rang 3 times, it was clear that the old lady was starting to lose patience, banging on the door while shouting, "Stinky kid, I'll count to 3, and you better open the door immediately, or just wait to change the door. Grandma is here." Shihui Wan shouted. 1, 2. Just as Shihui Wan placed his hand on the doorknob, there was a loud bang. The entire door slammed against Shihui Wan's face, sending both the door and him flying out. At this moment, she noticed Shihui Wan pinned under the door. "Oh dear, stinky kid, you still have a day to call me grandma. Don't you usually call me old woman?" Grandma squatted down beside him, watching her grandson who usually stays at home. 3, Shihui Wan asked. 3? What 3? Didn't you say you'd count to 3? Where's the 3? In his heart, he muttered, "Kid." Grandma's 2 fingers tapped on Shihui Wan's head. Ouch. Grandma looked at her fingers, not knowing what she was thinking for a moment. Then slap. Ouch. Why did you hit me again? Shihui Wan covered his forehead and said, "It's nothing, just confirming something. Get up first." After saying that, Grandma pulled Shihui Wan up from the door, looking him up and down. "You've grown taller?" Buzzing sound. Repeat after me." The voice of human Shihui came from the earpiece, and Shihui Wan followed along. "It's normal for children to grow up quickly, isn't it?" "True. Shouldn't you fix the door first?" "I'll fix it after you leave, otherwise, I'll have to fix it a second time." Looking at the meaningful smile on Grandma's face, Shihui Wan inadvertently glanced away. "What should I do? I have a bad feeling." "Forget it. I bought you some clothes for this job, but it looks like you won't be able to wear them." Grandma walked around Shihui Wan for a while, slightly raising the bag in her hand with some regret. "Old lady, you bought me women's clothes again. Do you want your granddaughter to adopt someone and not bother me?" A shout came from the headphones in Shihui Wan's ears, but when he looked at the monitor, his eyes widened involuntarily. The old lady had already leaned in close to the headphones in Shihui Wan's ears, listening intently, with a grin on her face as she spoke to the camera in the fireplace. "You little brat. I heard you. Now tell me, clone or robot? I'll count to 3, and you better come out immediately. Otherwise, I'll drag you out myself. 1, 2. The sound of hurried footsteps came from behind the 2. Haha, human Shihui stood behind them, leaning against the wall, panting, clearly having reached his limit after a 100-meter sprint. "Old man. You. Pow. Ow. I'm here." "Okay." In his heart, he silently thought, "You brat. You old hag. Don't push your luck." Bang. You little brat, swearing all the time, no respect." Grandma huffed, her smoking fist raised. "Now tell me, what are you up to again, clone or robot? Can you make me a granddaughter? You nonsensical guy. Don't insult my intelligence here." Just as human Shihui was about to say the excuse he had prepared, Grandma suddenly grabbed his mouth, and in an instant, she exuded an aura of authority, making Shihui Wan unconsciously touch his backside. To be honest, good. Chapter 17, let us name the human grandma Sunset on the West Mountain. Parallel world, huh? Good job, you little brat. You did well. Maybe I can hold my granddaughter soon, haha. Grandma happily patted Shihui Wan's back, laughing uncontrollably. "You just drown in your granddaughter's affection, you old hag." Human Shihui said disdainfully. "Huh, if you could be half as good, I wouldn't be thinking about wanting a granddaughter all day." Grandma retorted while rubbing Shihui Wan's head. "I'm your grandson. No matter what, I'm a boy. Stop making me wear those women's clothes. Now that Celestia wants to make a move, she is not even hiding it. Granddaughters are meant to be spoiled. What do I spoil you for, you big man? If you were a girl, not to mention me, your parents would have to hold you in their hands for fear of breaking you. It's not like you've been working outside for years without even a phone call. If someone didn't know, they'd think you were dead outside. Hearing this, human Shihue's face darkened even more, his cheeks puffing up as if they were about to burst. You old hag. You little brat. Humph. To Shihue Nwan. Their relationship is really good. It's obvious that this child and the old child are definitely a grandparent-grandchild pair. Alright. I'm here to find you for something. What is it? Go buy some clothes at the mall. Get lost. Do you think I don't know what you want to do? Human Shihue took a step back, ready to turn and run at any moment. What? You dare refuse me? Grandma's expression was exaggerated, incredulous. You actually dare to refuse me? Refuse me? Who has the power over your pocket money this month? Human Shihue glared angrily, cursing. You old hag. How can you be so malicious? You can't threaten me with research funds. Are you going or not? Grandma rubbed her 3 fingers together and said, if you don't go, you wouldn't want to miss your pocket money this month, right? Human Shihue gritted his teeth and said, is this okay? Shihue Nwan, following beside Grandma, looked at Shihue Nwan, who was covered in shopping bags like a clothes rack, with concern. Don't mind that little brat. Last time he blew up the school. He promised me that as long as I stepped in to solve it, he'd do whatever I wanted. Sigh, some people just want to avoid taking responsibility. This old bone, still have to get up and drag him. I just wanted him to wear a few clothes to walk around with me. Otherwise some people wouldn't learn their lesson, and it would definitely be the same next time. After all that, he deserves it. Oh, we've arrived. Grandma pulled Shihue Nwan into a clothing store. The two pushed the door open, and a young voice came from the counter. Hello, Carousel Boutique. How can I assist you? What came into view was a beautiful girl, with long purple hair cascading down like a waterfall, smooth and shiny like silk, gently brushing against her fair and delicate skin. Her long eyelashes, like 2 exquisite little fans, slightly curled up, leaving a deep impression. The clothes she wore were adorned with just the right amount of gems, each placed carefully in the most suitable position, neither too ostentatious nor too understated. Oh, little sister Jinchi, I'm back. Grandma waved, clearly not her first time here. Welcome, Mrs. Sunset on the West Mountain. It's an honor to have you visit our shop. The girl named Jinchi smiled, having a good impression of this old lady, who, despite her old age and fading beauty, still radiated confidence. She too would one day age, and even she felt uneasy about her future aging appearance. Don't be so polite. Just call me Grandma or Old Lady a few times. Grandma Sunset on the West Mountain grinned widely. I've prepared new clothes for your granddaughter. Hope you like them. Granddaughter? I see. Come. My granddaughter came along today. Let us meet. Grandma revealed a cunning smile, pointing at the human Shihue Nwan behind her. Nwan, grab him. If he runs away, you'll have to take his punishment. Grandma smiled with a sense of triumph, pointing at human Shihue. Oh good. Upon hearing this, Shihue Nwan was alarmed. You old hag. Forget about losing face. You even found someone from the same school. Do you want me to be famous at school tomorrow? Human Shihue was suddenly pounced on by Shihue Nwan and pressed down. Human Shihue struggled and shouted. Shihue Nwan, you've betrayed me. Sorry, Shihue, but I'm a boy. I don't want to wear a girl-esque skirt either. Damn it. If you don't die, I won't die either. You go take my place. The title of great and versatile scientist is yours. Let me go? Human Shihue closed his eyes, as if making a huge choice. Then he struggled to free one hand, clawing at the ground, his neck stretching towards the door, his eyes bulging. Freedom. I'm free. Human Shihue let out a roar of freedom. That was his yearning for freedom. At that moment, he seemed to transform into a wild dove, becoming a titan in pursuit of freedom, roaring, running, sweating profusely, until Shihue Nwan skillfully kneed human Shihue in the waist, grabbing each other's wrists. Then Gaia. Ow. Sell it. Humph. Ah. The roar of freedom turned into the philosophy of freedom. That's your grandson. That's Shihue Nwan. Jinchi watched the scene before her, her smile suddenly frozen. Do you know him? Oh, that makes sense after all. He is the only one who has blown up a school since ancient times. Back then, Celestia only talked about it, but this brat actually put it into practice. You said your granddaughter was him? Jinchi pointed at human Shihue in disbelief. Yes, is there a problem? But he is a boy. How can a boy wear a girl-esque clothes? Jinchi retorted. Hey, little sister Jinchi, do you know why you're still stagnant on the road of fashion and clothing? Mrs. Sunset on the West Mountain's previously smiling face suddenly became serious, her tone carrying seriousness. What do you mean? Jinchi couldn't help but be attracted by the old lady's words. Why am I still stagnant? Is it because I'm not working hard enough? Or is it that I'm not doing well? Do you know, little one, fashion is not just a behavioral pattern, but also a category of art. The art of fashion knows no age or gender. More importantly, it is about innovation and development. You are trapped by your fixed mindset. Jinchi opened her eyes wide. The old lady's words enlightened her. She suddenly realized that she had only focused on embellishing with gems, neglecting the essence of fashion, the avant-garde creativity or the classic inheritance of creativity, expressing a unique personal style through beautiful techniques. Is that so? Jinchi pondered, seemingly convinced by the old lady. Then she raised her head and said seriously, I understand. I'm going to get the clothes. I want to see that kind of fashion. Watching Jinchi go upstairs, Rahuxishin turned to Human Shihue, showing a mischievous smile, which made Human Shihue so angry that he could only shake his head and scream to vent his dissatisfaction. Old lady, I won't let this go. Chapter 18. Return look. Jinchi, this is the charm unique to this little brat. Rahuxishin snapped a photo and nudged the dazed Jinchi with his elbow. Dressed in a snowy white outfit, a blue butterfly pleated skirt with floral water mist, draped in sheer blue smoke yarn, with white shoulders and a slim waist. Her skin like jade, her aura like orchids, charming yet delicate. I, Shihue, was also dumbfounded, not knowing why I smelled a faint fragrance coming from Human Shihue. Brother, you smell so good. This is incredible. Jinchi's eyes widened, wanting to imprint this moment in her mind. At this moment, she seemed to have opened a new door. You all, Human Shihue let out a small beast-like cry, shyly covering her skirt, with tears welling in her eyes, looking very wronged. That hateful old lady. Rahuxishin frowned and handed Jinchi a photo, saying, if that brat wants to do something in the future, just bring this out. No. Jinchi reacted quickly, stepping back, as she couldn't threaten her classmates with a photo. It's okay, maybe it will be useful in the future. Rahuxishin didn't care whether she wanted it or not, and shoved it into Jinchi's hand. Then, with a mischievous smile at Human Shihue, he said, after all, you wouldn't want your photo to spread all over the school, right? Old thing, this is America. You should go to that corner of neon. No way. The population there is aging. After all the little boys have blown up, and even the fat ones are gone. Uffed. Both Shihue and Nuan laughed at the same time. Nuan didn't understand, but just wanted to laugh. While Human Shihue understood and hurriedly controlled his expression to avoid losing control. Don't be like that. There's still a lot more, don't blink. Rahuxishin picked a few more outfits and went upstairs. You don't come over. Human Shihue was frightened and retreated, looking at the approaching devil in horror. Rahuxishin grabbed Human Shihue by the collar and pulled him into the changing room, followed by a flurry of chaos. Behave, take it off, change clothes. A stern voice came from the changing room. No, behave. A series of intense struggles ensued. The noise from the changing room attracted the attention of the surrounding customers. Those who came to Jinchi's store were either students from Cantlot High School or introduced by others. Everyone felt a bit familiar. The energetic old lady often came here to buy clothes for her granddaughter. Though she never admitted it was for her granddaughter, everyone just assumed it was. The curious onlookers watched the situation in the fitting room, when suddenly, the big door of the fitting room burst open with a bang. Human Shihue, halfway dressed, burst out of the fitting room, shouting, help. Whoosh. Rahuxishin in the fitting room immediately made a move, grabbing his neck like a grim reaper, slowly dragging Human Shihue into the dark of the fitting room. Human Shihue desperately clung to the doorframe with his hands and feet, but ultimately, he was exhausted and, along with the witch-like cackling, was completely dragged into the darkness. The surrounding customers, who were enjoying the spectacle, could clearly see the terror and despair in his eyes, filled with unwilling resentment, being dragged into the unknown abyss. Then dressed in an elegant and solemn black European classical long dress. The dress was made of fine, soft velvet fabric, with a silky smooth touch. The hem was wide and fluffy, with layers of folds undulating like waves, gently swaying with her steps, resembling the ripples on a deep lake under the night sky, carrying a mysterious and graceful rhythm. The cut of the dress perfectly fit the boy's figure, outlining a slim waist and graceful curves. The high neckline was adorned with exquisite lace, which resembled a delicate spider web, carrying a hint of classical romance and subtlety, making his neck appear even longer and fairer, like a beautiful lily blooming in the night, exuding a faintly cool aura. At the chest and waist of the dress, diamond and pearl buttons adorned it, with a black ribbon bow gracefully hanging down. complementing the warm luster of the diamonds and pearls, showcasing classical luxury. Clearly a male, yet adding a touch of feminine elegance and refinement. The entire outfit seemed to be the attire of a noble woman stepping out of an ancient oil painting, perfectly blending classical charm and feminine grace, making one unable to help but be enchanted by that unique allure. Especially the look of disdain on his face added a different flavor to the whole ensemble. So amazing, Wan exclaimed. Yes, really amazing. Do you want to join? An old voice came from behind him, causing him to explode. Wait. Before Wan could finish, Rahuxishan, who had appeared behind him, clamped him by the neck and dragged him into the changing room together. Click. The door of the changing room opened. And under the soft light, the two Zihuis were dressed in exquisite Japanese-made outfits. Their outfits featured a classic black and white color scheme, with a fitted white shirt on top and a bow tie at the collar, with the black necktie slightly shimmering under the light, appearing particularly exquisite. Above the knees, a section of fair skin was exposed, paired with black over-the-knee socks, the delicate patterns on the socks subtly visible under the light, adding a playful touch. The surrounding people were instantly captivated by their attire. Some gasped in awe, while others couldn't help but take out their phones to capture this beautiful moment. Even some young boys showed expressions of envy and admiration, their eyes fixed on the sisters as if they were enchanted by their beauty and grace. Every customer present gave a good review of the store's clothing, and today's sales were surely different from usual. Let me die? The two Shihue and Wan were in perfect harmony at this moment. The carousel boutique had burned out, turning into white ash. The two white Zihuis sat dejectedly on chairs, surrounded by an aura reminiscent of high school seniors' lingering grievances. You helped a lot, Mrs. Rahuxishan. Thank you so much. Jinshi excitedly grabbed the old lady's hand and said. Under the old lady's leadership, the boutique sales skyrocketed today, and she learned a lot as well. It's nothing, Jinshi. If my grandson were half as good as you, I would be at ease. Human Shihue rolled his eyes and glanced at them, then lowered his head to continue playing dead. Forget it, as long as she's happy. Tap tap. A knock on the door sounded from outside. Jinshi gently released Rahuxishan's hand and turned to greet the customer. Hello, Carousel Boutique. How can I assist you? Oh, hello. I'm here to pick someone up. Wushu stretched lazily, carrying a grumpy face and pointing at Xuen Wan, who was slumped in a chair. Who are you? Rimu Shishan approached, sizing up the unfriendly middle-aged man in front of him. Guardian, limited to today. Seeing Rimu Shishan's vigilance, Wushu rolled his eyes. This way, he could throw a party at Ro's house, then stay up late playing games together, even cook her a midnight snack, lull her to sleep, tell her stories, and cover Ro with a blanket when she kicks it off at midnight. All messed up by this kid. How could he be happy? Wushu snapped his fingers, and with a crisp sound, like fireworks exploding, countless colorful confetti burst forth from all directions. The confetti sparkled with vibrant colors, dancing gracefully in the air, resembling a brilliant and colorful dream dance. At the same time, Wushu's figure moved like a ghost, appearing beside Shihue Wan in the blink of an eye. He quickly reached out and grabbed the hood behind Shihue Wan, ready to leave this place. Rimu Shishan looked at the cupcake in his hand, raising an eyebrow, but upon thinking of the parallel world Shihue Wan came from, he didn't find anything wrong. Wait, just as Wushu raised his hand, he was called back by Jinshi. Shihue Wan helped me a lot. These clothes are a token of my appreciation. Jinshi held several packaged clothes. For me? Shihue Wan pointed at herself, somewhat incredulous. Yeah, Jinshi nodded. Wushu glanced at the clothes Jinshi was holding, raised an eyebrow, and directly tossed them to Shihue Wan. Shihue Wan immediately opened her arms to catch them, her little face turning slightly red as she shyly said, "Thank you." Then she quickly covered her face with the clothes, realizing this was her first gift from someone other than her grandmother. All right, since everything is done, Wushu raised his hand in front of everyone. Snap, accompanied by a snap. Wushu and Shihue Wan exploded with the sound of ribbons and trumpets and disappeared from the spot. Ugh, looking at the scattered ribbons and confetti on the ground, Jinshi couldn't help but sulk. I just cleaned the floor. Rimu Shishan held the cupcake in front of the human Shihue, asking, do you want to eat? In that instant, the originally pale face of human Shihue turned even paler. His lips trembled slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he only opened his mouth and shouted, don't bring that thing near my mouth. Chapter 19. Now that it has come to this, let's eat. I don't know. Wushu sat bored on a white plastic chair, wearing glasses, looking at a book that seemed to have come from nowhere. But rely on me. You can only wait for the randomness of the chaotic magic within you. It could be a while, or it could be forever. Of course, it could also be now. Do you understand, kid? Kid. Seeing Wushu's silence, Wushu lifted his head, looking left and right, but did not see Shihuan-Wan-Wan's figure, scratching his head in confusion. My head. Shihuan-Wan-Wan covered his head, feeling like his brain had been thrown into a blender and mixed up, feeling a bit disoriented. He patted his messy head and noticed several bags of packaged clothes beside him, which were given to him by the human Jinshi. But why are they still women's clothes? Just then, Shihuan-Wan-Wan's stomach grumbled uncontrollably, and he covered his belly, looking around for something to eat. Oh well. The long and mournful wolf howl pierced through the once tranquil forest like a thunderclap. Shihuan-Wan-Wan, walking in the woods, suddenly raised his head, only to see a bright moon hanging high in the night sky, and not far away on the hillside stood a wolf-like shadow. Its strong figure turned away from the moonlight, its eyes shining with a ghostly green light, like two burning ghost fires, captivating and terrifying. As the wolf howl gradually faded into the air, Shihuan-Wan-Wan suddenly felt a slight rustle coming from the woods beside him. Soon after, he heard the sound of rustling getting closer, and in the blink of an eye, two slightly smaller wolves emerged from the dense bushes. They also radiated a fierce aura, panting heavily, their sharp fangs glinting in the moonlight. At the same time, the wolf shadow on the hillside leaped down like a black lightning bolt, landing steadily in front of Shihuan-Wan-Wan. In an instant, three hungry wolves surrounded Shihuan-Wan-Wan in a triangular formation, their greedy and murderous gazes piercing through him like steel needles, as if they were ready to pounce and tear him apart at any moment. Seeing such creatures, he should have run, but the hunger in his body urged him to find food quickly, and he told himself that food was right in front of him. Shihuan-Wan-Wan's mouth, which was originally tightly closed, slightly opened, and a glistening droplet of saliva slowly dripped down the corner of his mouth like a thin silver thread, shimmering faintly in the sunlight. At the same time, his pupils began to constrict slightly, fixating on the largest wooden wolf ahead. The extreme hunger reflected in his eyes surged forth like a ferocious beast, unable to be restrained any longer, pouring out from the depths of his being without reservation. So hungry, food is right in front of me. The intense hunger washed over Shihuan-Wan-Wan like a tidal wave, crashing over him again and again, consuming his last bit of rationality, turning him into a beast driven by primal desire. Suddenly, Shihuan-Wan-Wan's eyes locked onto the food not far ahead, exuding a scent reminiscent of vanilla. Undoubtedly the most tempting allure for his currently ravenous self. Without a moment's hesitation, Shihuan-Wan-Wan lunged straight toward the largest wooden wolf like an arrow released from a bow. In an instant, the two beasts were locked in a fierce struggle for survival. Shihuan-Wan-Wan bit down hard on the front limb of the beast with his sharp teeth, tearing at it desperately. The other two wooden wolves immediately pounced as well. For beasts tumbled together in a chaotic melee, their roars, howls, and the sound of wood snapping intertwining, echoing throughout the forest. At that moment, with a loud bang, a fiery light erupted from behind Shihuan-Wan-Wan. The sound was like thunder on a clear day, instantly shattering the previously tranquil atmosphere. Accompanied by this loud noise, a powerful shockwave suddenly burst forth. The two wooden wolves behind Shihuan-Wan-Wan had no time to react before being obliterated by this tremendous force. Their bodies instantly shattered into countless pieces of varying sizes, flying everywhere. Some wooden fragments even embedded into nearby trees and the ground, leaving deep and shallow pits behind. The wood chips floated through the air like snowflakes, slowly descending and enveloping the surrounding area in a thin layer of wood dust. Clad in black scales, he entered the reverse scale state like a monster, chewing on the final remnants of the wooden wolf's body. The texture was reminiscent of cucumber, with a hint of sweetness, making it perfect for alleviating greasiness. Paired with roasted meat, it was simply delightful. Shihuan-Wan-Wan pressed down hard on the wooden wolf's body with his forelimbs, biting down fiercely on its neck with his sharp teeth. Kata, the wood spirit wolf's neck was forcefully torn off, and its body lost control of its head, collapsing helplessly to the ground, waiting to be slaughtered. At this moment, a chicken head popped out from the bushes, tilting its head and making a clucking sound in confusion. Shihuan-Wan-Wan looked up at the chicken, and upon sensing her gaze, the chicken spread its wings from behind. It was a creature with a chicken head and a snake body, very scary and dangerous, known as the chicken snake beast. Clearly, it was confident in its strength, believing that its eyes could petrify any creature that made eye contact with it, ensuring that creature's death. However, the chicken snake beast curiously stared at the strange little black horse drooling before it, wondering why it hadn't been petrified yet. Shihuan-Wan-Wan's gaze was hot as she stared at the chicken snake beast in the sky. What kind of monster was that? It was clearly a plump roasted chicken. A roasted chicken dancing in flames. Under the intense heat of the roaring fire, The chicken gradually became enveloped in the fervor of the flames, which licked at the surface of the chicken meat, causing it to change color from pale to golden yellow. As the temperature rose, the fat in the chicken was forced out, flowing down the meat's texture and dripping onto the charcoal, making a sizzling sound. The roasted chicken, under the heat of the fire, developed a crispy skin, presenting an enticing golden color. The fat splattered at high temperatures, bursting like fireworks, emitting an irresistible aroma. This scent filled the air, making one unable to resist swallowing. Isn't the roast meat here already? Saliva dripped from the corner of Shihue Nuan's mouth onto the ground, surrounded by flames. And ignoring the petrification brought by the chicken snake beast, she pounced forward. At this point, let's eat first. Chapter 20. The Eternal Freedom Forest is truly hospitable. I really like it. Hiccup. Shihue Nuan let out a satisfied burp. Swinging the wood spirit wolf's head he had torn off around. As a magical creature characteristic of the Eternal Freedom Forest, it naturally had an efficient recovery method, with the severed neck absorbing branches, leaves, and the magical energy in the air to heal itself. In just half an hour, a part of its body had regrown, and Shihue Nuan couldn't wait to gnaw at its body like chewing sugarcane amidst the howls of the wolf. This place is really nice. There's no shortage of food. Shihue Nuan patted his slightly bulging belly and licked his lips. On the way, he also encountered a lion with wings and a scorpion tail. To be honest, the lion's meat was not very palatable, tough, and with a strong fishy taste. Unlike the chicken snake beast he had eaten before, which had the unique smoothness of snake meat and freshness, roasted to perfection, it was tender and juicy, crisp on the outside and soft on the inside, with a firm texture. The only pity was the lack of seasoning. However, the scorpion-tailed lion's unique delicacy was its scorpion tail and eyeballs. The eyeball meat was quite tender, with a high fat content, tasting sweet and smooth. He missed his grandmother's cooking a bit, but she should still be looking for him. However, with that cosmic princess around, he didn't have to worry too much about his grandmother. Cosmic Princess Celestia. 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 Suddenly, Shihue Nuan stood still like a statue. His cute little face now darkened with a terrifying gloom, like the sky before a storm, pitch black, making it impossible to see the twisted expression on his face. In his eyes, it seemed as if two incredibly sharp knives were gleaming with a chilling light. And this intense, killing intent surged from the depths of his eyes like a flood that could no longer be contained. He gritted his teeth tightly, causing his cheeks to bulge slightly, veins popping on his forehead, his hooves digging deep into the ground. He simply couldn't understand why merely recalling that name would ignite a raging fire of anger deep within him, a fire that only grew stronger, almost consuming him entirely. At this moment, his mind was filled with bloody images of torturing the owner of that name to death, dismembering them into pieces, then chopping them into meat paste, and grinding them into powder. Even repeating this 100,000, a million, or even 10 million times wouldn't be enough. Not nearly enough. Beside him, the wood spirit wolf's head instantly became rigid, its leaf-like fur standing on end, ears pressed tightly against its head. It began to tremble, sensing that non-existent heartbeat racing, as if it would leap out of its chest. A low, mournful whimper escaped its throat, as if begging Shihue Nuan for mercy. As an undead creature, it understood the emotion called fear at this moment. Its eyes widened as if seeing hundreds of blood-red eyes emerging behind the little horse. Those eyes burned with an indelible, deep-seated hatred, lighting up the pitch-black night like twinkling stars. Each pair of eyes exuded a chilling aura, as if they would devour everything in sight. That intense hatred surged like a tidal wave, crashing against its mental defenses, making it almost unable to breathe. Boom. In the depths of the Eternal Freedom Forest, a violent explosion occurred, and the intense shaking stopped in an instant, not drawing any attention from the horses. In the perilous Eternal Freedom Forest, anything is possible. The originally dense canopy became sparse, branches and leaves shattered and scattered on the ground. Huge craters appeared on the ground, and the surrounding soil was overturned, revealing deep layers of rock and earth. Meanwhile, Shihue Nuan stood panting in the center of the explosion, in a dead silence. The trees were charred, turning into black charcoal-like substances, emitting a pungent odor. The once vibrant forest had turned into a wasteland, with only the well-preserved clothes and the wood spirit wolf's head still trembling by his hoofs. Though somewhat incredulous about what he had done, Shihue Nuan felt eerily calm at this moment, as if entering a sage time after venting his emotions. His previously chaotic mind became extremely clear, and the issues he couldn't comprehend before now suddenly made sense. He began to reflect on his previous actions, until finally, using the precious clothes as a pillow and blanket, he directly made a bed on the ground and fell asleep. Ha ha ha, with a mind that doesn't have much knowledge. You can't expect a little learning machine to solve the three-body problem. Even the cleverest Li Huang still has the same brain as Huazi. Sleeping so well. Wan stretched his body, smacked his lips, and slowly put the precious clothes back together, turning to look at the wood spirit wolf, which had already regrown one paw, struggling to dig forward with its claws. As long as it can reach that place. The wood spirit wolf's eyes were fixed on the bushes in front of it, using one front paw to crawl forward bit by bit. The surrounding trees had been destroyed by the uncontrollable Wan, leading to a significant reduction in the plants it could absorb and assimilate, resulting in it only growing one arm overnight. Looking at the bushes that were so close, if it could reach that place, it could not only regrow all its forelimbs and quickly leave this monster, but also conceal its form. It's grown well, just in time to start breakfast. A voice like a demon's whisper entered its ears. Owl, owl, owl. The mournful howls of the wolf echoed throughout the forest, reverberating in the empty valley. Filled with sorrow. A demon. This demon. Why not just kill it? Why torture it like this? Quack. Hurry. Kill me. Kill me. Nuanyuan didn't think too much. One hoof pressed down hard on the head of the wood spirit wolf as she leaned down to start gnawing on its claws. Huimai, put me down. That's an order. Please. We won't be able to get out like this. A female voice came from not far away, pulling Nuanyuan out of her meal. A red-maned, yellow-skinned land horse was carrying another orange land horse on its back, galloping towards Nuanyuan, with a large number of wood spirit wolves, about 7 or 8, chasing closely behind them. Upon seeing this, Nuanyuan raised an eyebrow, not in surprise at the number of wood spirit wolves, but rather thinking, it's time to eat again. Chapter 21, The Apple Couple. Huimai, put me down. That's an order. Please. We won't be able to get out like this. Jinli Guojiang was anxiously looking back at the many wood spirit wolves chasing them while lying on Huimai's back. The couple had missed the train to Apple Rusa, and to deliver their goods on time, they had to take the risk of crossing the Eternal Freedom Forest, which would lead them directly to their destination. However, they encountered danger and were surrounded by wood spirit wolves. She was too concerned about the cargo and ended up getting her leg bitten, forcing Huimai to abandon everything and carry her to escape. Watching Huimai, who was already exhausted but still pushing himself, Jinli Guojiang felt a pang of heartache. As the wood spirit wolves drew closer, her heart was filled with regret, guilt, and a determination to face death. I'm sorry, my dear, I'm sorry. Tears streamed down Jinli Guojiang's face as she propped herself up with her uninjured front leg and gently pushed against Huimai's back, lunging towards the group of wood spirit wolves. At least she could buy some time for Huimai. At least the children would still have a support. The leading wood spirit wolf was knocked down by Jinli Guojiang's leap, rolling over and starting to struggle on the ground. Huimai, go. With the unique strength of land horses, Jinli Guojiang forcefully pinned the wood spirit wolf to the ground. The other wood spirit wolves, seeing their prey throwing itself into the net, pounced on Jinli Guojiang. As 2 wood spirit wolves charged at her, she managed to evade one but was tackled to the ground by the other. Jinli Guojiang pressed her hoof against its head, her expression fierce, and she struck forcefully at the side of the wood spirit wolf's face, her strength causing it to crash to the ground. Jinli Guojiang then flipped herself over and sat on the wood spirit wolf, at that moment seemingly abandoning all reason. She raised her head and fiercely struck the wood spirit wolf's skull. Bang, bang, bang. The dull sounds echoed as Jinli Guojiang cracked the wood spirit wolf's skull, causing it to sway and struggle. The frenzied energy emanating from Jinli Guojiang intimidated most of the wood spirits present. Behind her, 2 wood spirit wolves had just gotten up and were about to attack again when Huimai charged in, knocking them away with his body. Crack, accompanied by a sharp sound. The wood spirit wolf beneath Jinli Guojiang had its head smashed in by her, and with another impact from Jinli Guojiang, it was completely shattered. Panting heavily, Jinli Guojiang seemed to exhaust all her strength with each breath. Her chest heaved violently, and sweat mixed with blood dripped continuously from her forehead. After several violent impacts, her forehead had become a bloody mess, the once delicate skin now torn with gaping wounds, flesh hanging out, blood flowing profusely. Her long hair had come loose, cascading down like a waterfall, messily hanging over her blood-stained face. However, despite her dire state and severe injuries, Jinli Guojiang's eyes still sparkled with a frightening light. Come on, she shouted, a kind of madness that disregarded death, a resolute determination that instilled fear in the surrounding wood spirit wolves, making them hesitate to approach. They loved each other deeply. They understood each other better than any other pony. That poison called love had long since penetrated to the marrow, and there was no remedy. No matter how time passed or how the world changed, this deep affection remained unchanged. Even if their identities were switched or their circumstances differed, the final outcome would still not change. Their hearts were tightly connected, already fused into one. Whether in life or death, or facing difficulties, they were willing to face it together, relying on each other, never to be separated. But what about Granny Smith? What about Dama and Jar? What about Lily? The children will lose their mother. They can't lose their father too. Jinli Guojiang's words revealed despair. Why? Why did I have to put everyone in such a situation for those goods? It's all my fault. If it weren't for losing control of her emotions. Jinli Guojiang hugged herself, her body swaying as if about to collapse, regretful tears falling like raindrops. Dap. Huimai walked slowly from behind, tenderly holding his wife in his arms, whispering, I know I can't let go of my mom. I can't let go of the children, but I can't let go of you either, my little Jinhua. Upon hearing her husband's words, Jinli Guojiang slightly opened her eyes, a sense of reassurance flooding from within. I am a child of my mother, a father to the children. And also, your husband. I know if I just leave like this, I might escape here, but as a husband, I cannot abandon you and leave. Don't worry. The children's mother. I saved a considerable bride price with my mom to marry you back then. Even if it isn't needed now, it's still there. If we were to die here today, plus the insurance money, it would be enough to raise Dama and Jar. Hearing this, Jinli Guojiang slowly stopped trembling. As her emotions settled, perhaps due to excessive blood loss or exhaustion from fighting the wood spirit wolves, she knew their time was running out. She lifted her head, her tone weak as she gasped, How long have we been together? What? Haha, that's much longer than the time we've been together. Jinli Guojiang teased with a smile. I know, but this is to commemorate the first time I called you little Jinhua. Huimai understood, turning to observe the surrounding wood wolves. Upon hearing this, the corners of Jinli Guojiang's mouth lifted. She closed her eyes, her body going limp as she collapsed completely in Huimai's embrace. In that moment, she felt happy, nestled in her lover's arms, experiencing the unique sense of security that only he could provide. I'm ready, dear. Go ahead and do it. Even if we die here. It's okay. Remember, I'm right behind you. Yeah, I know. Behind every successful man, there is always a great woman. Huimai once again lifted Jinli Guojiang onto his back, as if bearing the weight of the entire world. Seeing Jinli Guojiang in distress, the surrounding wood spirit wolves began to grow restless, emitting low growls as they moved closer to their prey. Haha, then you have to be able to carry me. Oh, future successful person. Jinli Guojiang joked, her gaze fixed on the wood spirit wolves behind them. Of course, Huimai's hooves flew as he dashed out like an arrow, his agile form tracing a beautiful arc in the air, charging towards the weakest point of the wood spirit wolves' encirclement at an astonishing speed. Caught off guard by Huimai's sudden charge, the wood spirit wolves had no time to react before being trampled by Huimai, who used them as a springboard to leap out of the encirclement. Roar! 3 wood spirit wolves immediately reacted, howling and turning to pounce on Huimai. Just then roar. The 3 wood spirit wolves saw a giant beast wrapped in flames open its mouth wide and roar, flying out from the bushes beside them. Like a game of match, 3, the apple couple only saw a flash of fire consuming the 3 wood spirit wolves in front of them. They burned into charcoal. No longer delicious. Shihue Nuan spat out the body of the wood spirit wolf that had been burned to charcoal by high temperatures. He glanced at the apple couple beside him and said, These snacks belong to me. After a pause, he wondered if what he said might seem too bullying and added, Is that okay? Chapter 22. Welcome to Ponyville. I am a wood spirit wolf. You might not believe it, but our group heard the leader's call last night. We followed the howl of the wolves, but lost track of our leader. Near the area where the leader disappeared, there was a strong fire element magic that destroyed the surrounding trees. We continued to search and happened to encounter 2 ponies passing by. We launched an attack on them. For us, they were just 2 prey that couldn't escape our encirclement. However, the Yellowland pony had impressive strength and endurance. He even carried his wife, who had been bitten by a wood spirit wolf, and broke free from the encirclement. And his wife was a madwoman. She charged at us recklessly. However, facing the intense resistance of the prey before death, the experienced wood spirit wolves knew it was about time to end the hunt. But why was one of the wolves in the pack looking in terror at Shihue Nuan, who was tearing its body apart and swallowing it? The rest of the wood spirit wolves were either having their limbs broken or their heads ripped off. They looked fearfully at Shihue Nuan as he swallowed his companions piece by piece, trying to move as far away as possible to escape the monster's sight. Why did they encounter such a monster? Boss, where are you? Come save us. Achu. At this moment, the leader of the wood spirit wolves was left with only a lonely head in the center of the area that had been destroyed by fire. surrounded by dense fire element magic, which greatly weakened its recovery ability. He couldn't help but wonder, can wood spirit wolves get sick too? Forget it. No need to think too much. That monster has left, and he must quickly grow limbs and leave this place of chaos. Fortunately, his clan would never come to such an environment that was detrimental to their recovery. He hoped they could hold on until he fully recovered. If they die, they die. As long as they survive, they can rise again. After all, in the eternally free forest of the survival of the fittest, it's either kill or be killed. If they are eaten, it's just because they were not strong enough, and they brought it upon themselves. Burp. Shihuan let out a satisfied burp, leaving behind the remains of the wood wolf that had mostly been eaten, and turned his gaze to the remaining weak wood spirit wolves. Oh whoa. Huimai felt everything was like a dream. He and his wife were attacked by wood spirit wolves. Then they began to flee, preparing to break out of the encirclement, and then were rescued by a pony that looked almost the same size as his daughter. Everything would turn out well, but in the end, this pony actually ate that group of wood spirit wolves. That's right, ate them. The strength of the wood wolves was not in their individual power, but in their nearly immortal bodies and sheer numbers. But in front of that pony, they were like a buffet presented right in front of them. Huimai rubbed his eyes in disbelief, but then the cough of Jean Liguojiang broke his contemplation. Cough, cough. Jean Liguojiang lay weakly on Huimai's back, her body overextended, making her extremely weak. The blood she coughed up indicated that her current situation was not optimistic. Huimai first heard Jean Liguojiang's cough, and when he saw the blood in front of him, his brain just momentarily shut down, but he immediately reacted, turning around and running back in the direction they came from. Shihuan looked up at Huimai, who was leaving, then glanced at the many remains of the wood spirit wolf still in his hooves. After hesitating for a moment, he stuffed some into his mouth and, puffing out his cheeks, began to run after Huimai. Hey, I can help. Just take me to the nearest yard. Shihuan followed behind Huimai. Moreover, they also needed to ensure the safety of the families living in Ponyville, so he asked, tell me, what is your goal? His tone was very calm, without any fear. They were destined to die in this cursed place. They were not afraid of death. They were willing to face it for their families. Seeing Huimai's hesitation, Shihuan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. A pony who loves their family must be good. You don't need to be wary of me. I just want to find my family. If you're worried, I can stay deep in the everfree forest, and you can report my existence to Celestia. Shihuan spoke softly, trying to give Huimai a sense of security. Looking at Shihuan serious expression, Huimai nodded. He could see that the look in Shihuan eyes was the same as his concern for family. Seeing that Shihuan looked similar in size to his daughter, his heart softened. At least, a pony who deeply loves their family must be good. Can you tell me your name? Huimai asked. You can call me Shihuan. Shihuan said, inexplicably blushing. This name sounded quite feminine. And suddenly facing a pony who had goodwill toward him made him feel a bit shy and uneasy. Seeing that Shihuan looked just like his daughter, Huimai couldn't help but smile, lowering most of his guard. Thank you, Shihuan. Please step back a bit. Shihuan said. What? I mean, you need to step back a bit. It might splash on you. Huimai was about to say something when he saw Shihuan's bones begin to protrude outward. The intense pain made him grit his teeth as his bones broke through the skin, blood gushing out and splattering all over Huimai's face. Accompanied by the dislocation of bones, skin tearing, and blood splattering, Shihuan's bones began to change again, flesh and blood climbing up the skeleton to start regrowing. The originally tattered body was being reshaped at this moment, and Shihuan transformed into a giant beast the size of a bear, standing on two legs. The beast lowered its body, turning its back to Huimai, and said, "Get on." A deep voice came from Shihuan's mouth, interrupting the already stunned Huimai. Oh, okay. Huimai, as if waking from a dream, weighed Jean Liguojiang on his back, confirmed that his wife was stable, and climbed onto Shihuan's furry back. One hoof wrapped around Shihuan's neck to prevent himself from falling off, while the other pointed in the direction of Ponyville and said, "That direction is Ponyville, but you need to go along that road first. You don't need to bother." Shihuan took a running start, fire element magic gathering beneath his feet. Boom! A fiery explosion erupted from beneath his feet, and the ground's shockwave sent the three ponies flying high into the air. Wah! Huimai clutched Shihuan's neck tightly with one hoof, and held onto Jean Liguojiang's hoof with the other, fearing that he might fall off at any moment. As time passed, Shihuan and Huimai gradually saw the outline of the small town that was Ponyville. Get ready. I'm going to start falling. Shihuan shouted, turning around to embrace Huimai and Jean Liguojiang. curling his body as much as possible into a ball, surrounded by flames, adjusting his direction and beginning to descend. Huimai only felt a severe sense of weightlessness as he hugged Jean Li Guojiang tightly. What is that? The ponies living in Ponyville looked up at something falling from the sky. Those sharp-eyed Pegasi recognized what was coming and turned to shout at the ponies, "Meteor! Everyone run!" The ponies immediately screamed and ran in all directions, quickly clearing a space. Then there was a loud boom. The meteor crashed violently into the ground.